Chapter 1234. After dealing with all of this, it's time to go to the sacred dragon's secret realm. Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed. His primary goal in coming to the Myriad Dragon City was to go to the sacred dragon's secret realm. As for this scheme, it was something Chu Fengmian came up with on the spur of the moment. Since he was going to leave, he had to make Chu Fengmian's enemies pay the price. However, the price was too heavy. 100 quasi-emperors, a dozen true emperors, and 3/3 tribulation true emperors were all dead. Their essence blood and all of their fortuitous encounters had fallen into Chu Fengmian's hands. Of course, this was not what Chu Fengmian cared about the most. What he cared about was the sacred dragon's secret realm. The three of you come out. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and the 3 disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm landed in front of him. Their spiritual energy was still suppressed by Chu Fengmian. The moment they appeared, they knelt in front of Chu Fengmian. The 3 of you wanted to deal with me. Unfortunately, things didn't go as you planned. Chu Fengmian looked at the 3 disciples and said with a faint smile. If it wasn't for the 3 of them, Chu Fengmian wouldn't have been able to catch so many big fish. It seemed that Chu Fengmian had to thank them today. However, Chu Fengmian not killing them was the best way to show his gratitude. Sparing their lives was much more useful than killing them. Brat, we admit defeat this time. However, you brought about your own destruction today. Our sacred dragon's secret realm has many experts, including 9 tribulation true emperors. You're not far from death after provoking the sacred dragon's secret realm. A disciple of the sacred dragon's secret realm knelt on the ground and said furiously, "Even if you kill us, you'll join us in a few days." Kill? I still want you to work for me. How can I kill you? Chu Fengmian's lips curled into a cold smile. Although these disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm had met with some misfortune, it was nothing to Chu Fengmian. Even a 9 tribulation true emperor would be envious of Chu Fengmian's fortuitous encounters. His goal was the sacred dragon's secret realm, not these insignificant disciples. Bah! We'd rather die than work for you. Hearing Chu Fengmian's words, another sacred dragon's secret realm disciple spoke with disdain. Really? Chu Fengmian wasn't angry. He just slowly raised his hand. A ball of black spiritual power condensed on Chu Fengmian's fingertip. At the instant they saw the black spiritual energy, the expressions of the 3 holy dragon mystic realm disciples changed. Even the ancient Spell Island master and Lu Ya's expressions turned somewhat ugly when they saw this scene. They had all seen with their own eyes how Chu Fengmian had crushed Jinyuan and Qingsong to death. Although Chu Fengmian could crush the 2 of them to death as easily as crushing ants, Chu Fengmian had only used the power of the restriction to kill the 2 quasi-emperors. Once controlled by the All-Heaven Death Seal, even a venerable sovereign would be killed by Chu Fengmian with a single thought. No, I don't want that. A sacred dragon's secret realm disciple looked at Chu Fengmian and spoke in a panic. I am a martial artist from the Hailstone continent, and my ancestor is the Frozen Heaven ancestor. As long as you let me go, I am willing to give you countless benefits. A martial artist from the Hailstone continent. Chu Fengmian had also learned about the situation of the continents around the ancient monster continent from the bloody blood demon Honorable. The Hailstone continent was one of them. Although it was not comparable to the 5 Elements continent, it was still 1 level higher than the ancient monster continent. It was a level 6 continent. The Frozen Heaven ancestor was also a famous character, an 8 tribulation true emperor. The sacred dragon's secret realm disciple mentioned the Frozen Heaven ancestor in order to make Chu Fengmian hesitate. However, Chu Fengmian had never been so apprehensive. It's not up to you. Chu Fengmian sneered. With a point of his palm, the ball of black spiritual power split into 3 and turned into 3 all-heaven death seals, which were engraved on the bodies of the 3 holy dragon's secret realm disciples. Once the seals entered their spirit veins, no matter how hard they tried to resist, it was useless. After doing all this, Chu Fengmian slowly withdrew his spiritual power. The three holy dragon secret realm disciples no longer looked at Chu Fengmian with hatred. Instead, their eyes were filled with respect. Let's go. We have something to do first. Chu Fengmian was not in a hurry to inquire about the situation in the holy dragon secret realm. Instead, his figure moved and disappeared in the air. Outside the Thousand Dragon City, a blood-red escape light was escaping at high speed. Behind this blood-red escape light, several escape lights were chasing after it. This blood-red escape light was the Blood Demon Supremacy. When Chu Fengmian was surrounded, he was also being chased. Although most of the quasi-emperors were chasing after Chu Fengmian, there were also a few Five Mountains Sword Sect disciples chasing after the Blood Demon Supremacy. Blood Demon Supremacy, you don't have to run anymore. It's meaningless for you to continue running. Even your master's horse would die, let alone you. A Five Mountains Sword Sect disciple stared at Chu Fengmian and sneered. It's a waste of energy to run. That's right, Blood Demon Supremacy. Just now, the lords had already given you a chance. It's a pity that you were so stubborn. Now that you're dead, you only have yourself to blame. Another Five Mountains Sword Sect disciple sneered. Hand over your life. As he spoke, sword lights that filled the sky slashed toward him again. Such a scene had happened countless times. However, the Blood Demon Supremacy did not have much spiritual power left after escaping again and again. This time, he raised his head. The moment he looked at the sword lights in the sky, his face was already pale and his heart was cold. He could not help but close his eyes. However, the sword lights that filled the sky did not descend. When the Blood Demon Supremacy opened his eyes, he saw Chu Fengmian's figure suddenly appear. He pointed his finger in the air, and the sword lights in the sky were shattered. Let's see who dares to touch my people. Chu Fengmian looked at the Blood Demon Supremacy and said with a smile. Not bad. I didn't expect it to be you who chose to follow me in the end. It's my honor to follow you, Lord. The Blood Demon Supremacy looked at Chu Fengmian and said respectfully. Although he was also subdued by Chu Fengmian, he had followed Chu Fengmian for so long. In particular, Chu Fengmian had clashed with the Five Mountains Sword Sect in order to save him. All this had made him truly submit to Chu Fengmian. Even without the All-Heaven Death Seal, he would not choose to betray Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian? You, how is it possible? Why are you here? On the other side, the Five Mountains Sword Sect disciples could not help but narrow their eyes when they saw Chu Fengmian appear. They shouted in disbelief. Chapter 12:35. 100 Quasi-Emperors, more than a dozen true emperors, and a three-tribulation true emperor. In the eyes of these Five Mountains Sword Sect disciples, Chu Fengmian was dead for sure. There was no suspense. But now, Chu Fengmian was alive and standing in front of them. How can I be here? Those ants want to kill me? Chu Fengmian calmly asked after hearing the bewilderment of the disciples. The word ants shocked the disciples of the Five Mountain Sword Sect. 100 quasi-emperors, more than a dozen true emperors, and a three-tribulation true emperor? They were mere ants in Chu Fengmian's eyes? You. Don't be so arrogant. Who knows if you're telling the truth? Maybe you're just fooling the experts. A Five Mountains Sword Sect disciple pointed at Chu Fengmian and suddenly shouted. Set up the formation and kill him, that'll be a great contribution. Rumble. The remaining disciples of the Five Mountains Sword Sect attacked almost at the same time. Countless spiritual swords combined in the air and turned into a sword formation, slashing directly at Chu Fengmian. You overestimate yourselves. Chu Fengmian didn't even bother to look at them. He gathered his dragon aura and slammed it down. In front of the dragon's might, the sword formation was easily shattered. The bodies of the Five Mountains Sword Sect disciples exploded in the air. The Blood Demon Supremacy was stunned when he saw the disciples of the Five Mountains Sword Sect being killed by Chu Fengmian's dragon might. He was so scared that his whole body was trembling. Even though these disciples were at the bottom of the quasi-emperor level, they were still enough to push him into a corner. The blood demon's supremacy had suffered a lot from the sword formation, but now, he was killed by Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian didn't even need to make a move personally. Quasi-emperors weren't even qualified for Chu Fengmian to take action. Right now, Chu Fengmian was strong enough to fight against a for-tribulation true emperor. Greetings, Master. Victory is upon us. The blood demon's supremacy looked at Chu Fengmian and hurriedly knelt on the ground as he spoke respectfully. Chu Fengmian took young noble Jiuyu and forcefully left. Countless experts surrounded Chu Fengmian. Now that Chu Fengmian had appeared here, it meant that the experts who had besieged Chu Fengmian had most likely died in his hand. Chu Fengmian had always been decisive when doing things. He would never be sloppy. I'm almost done with the ancient monster continent. Next, I'll go to the sacred dragon's secret realm. Follow me loyally and I'll give you plenty of benefits. Chu Fengmian looked at Blood Devil Sovereign. Suddenly, his finger moved slightly and a blood pill flew out and landed in front of Blood Devil Sovereign. This blood pellet was formed from the blood essence of about 10 quasi-emperors. Not only did it contain the blood essence of these quasi-emperors, but it also contained everything they had encountered. Such a blood pill was a priceless treasure to any quasi-emperor. The moment Blood Devil Sovereign saw this blood pill, his pupils shrank. His hand that was ready to receive it trembled. If he swallowed and refined this blood pill, it would be almost certain that he would reach the Emperor realm in the future. Even if he couldn't break through to the Emperor realm, he would be almost invincible as a quasi-emperor. Many thanks, Master. Blood Devil Sovereign knelt on the ground and respectfully accepted the blood pill. He thanked Chu Fengmian gratefully. This blood pill was more important than his thousands of years of cultivation. It was a great help to him. His chances of breaking through to the Emperor realm in the future would be much greater. You deserve it, Chu Fengmian said calmly. Chu Fengmian was clear about gratitude and grudges. He wouldn't be stingy to those who followed him and were loyal to him. Of course, if people like Qing Song, Jin Yuan, and the others wanted to betray Chu Fengmian wouldn't let them go. Following behind Chu Fengmian, the 3 sacred dragon mystic realms disciples also slowly appeared and followed Chu Fengmian. When they saw the blood pill Chu Fengmian gave them, a strange look appeared in their eyes. Although such a blood pill was nothing in their eyes, it was only because they had obtained a large amount of resources after joining the sacred dragon's secret realm that they didn't care about this blood pill. If it was before joining the sacred dragon's secret realm, such a blood pill would be enough to make them fight over it. And now, Chu Fengmian gave it to Blood Devil Sovereign without the slightest hesitation. With such generosity, it was no wonder that Blood Devil Sovereign was willing to risk his life for Chu Fengmian. This is disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm? Blood Devil Sovereign had just received the blood pill when he looked at Chu Fengmian. When he saw the 3 disciples behind Chu Fengmian, his face couldn't help but tense up. Master, be careful. Don't worry, the 3 of them have already been subdued by me, Chu Fengmian said with a smile when he heard Blood Devil Sovereign's words. He swept his gaze over. The 3 disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm were now kneeling respectfully before Chu Fengmian. Blood Devil Sovereign's mouth was agape when he saw this scene. He didn't make a sound for a long time. These were the disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm. The sacred dragon's secret realm was a martial holy land. Any disciple of the sacred dragon's secret realm who came to the ancient monster continent would be regarded as a peerless genius and be highly respected. It wasn't only because of their talent, but also because each of them had a shocking background. For example, true Emperor Jiuyu was behind young Master Jiuyu. Most of the disciples who could join the sacred dragon's secret realm were either rich or respectable people with prominent backgrounds. Although Blood Devil Sovereign was also a quasi-emperor, he could only look up to the disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm. But now, these disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm were all kneeling before Chu Fengmian and submitting to him. Even many big shots would go crazy when they saw this scene. I'm about to set off for the sacred dragon's secret realm. You can stay in the ancient monster continent and cultivate. Oh right, I have a sect in the ancient monster continent called the Brilliant Sky Sect. You can go there and help me if you encounter any trouble. Chu Fengmian slowly opened his mouth. The Brilliant Sky Sect was only a corner of Chu Fengmian's arrival in the ancient monster continent. However, it was still considered Chu Fengmian's force. Now that Chu Fengmian was about to leave, there was no harm in letting Blood Devil Sovereign take care of it. Yes. The Blood Demon Lord replied respectfully. Taking care of a small sect was not a troublesome matter for him. Let's go. After instructing Blood Devil Sovereign, Chu Fengmian didn't have any reluctance to leave the ancient monster continent. His body stepped into the void in an instant. Chapter 1236. This old man and young woman were none other than Luya and Island Master Gu Fa. Now, Ancient Spell Island Lord no longer looked at Chu Fengmian as if he was looking at a junior. Instead, he was full of respect. Although Ancient Spell Island Lord was much older than Chu Fengmian, strength was respected in both the 9 domains and the ancient monster continent. Chu Fengmian was able to defeat 100 quasi-emperors, a dozen true emperors, and 3 tribulation true emperors all by himself. This kind of strength far surpassed Ancient Spell Island Lord. It was normal for him to respect Chu Fengmian. May I know young master's true name? Ancient Spell Island Lord looked at Chu Fengmian and hesitated for a moment before suddenly asking. He knew the name Chu Fengmian, but no matter how hard he tried to recall or even think about the geniuses of other continents, he had never heard of such a name. Given Chu Fengmian's strength, it was impossible for him to be a nobody. True name? My name is Chu Fengmian. I will never change my name. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but chuckle when he heard Ancient Spell Island Lord's words. You two didn't come here to ask this, right? Luya was stunned at first, then her face turned red. She didn't know what to say. You want to go to the sacred dragon's secret realm? Chu Fengmian smiled faintly when he saw Luya's reaction. If that's the case, let's go together. Chu Fengmian didn't need to think to know why Luya came to the Myriad Dragon City banquet. Who would come to the banquet if not for the sacred dragon's secret realm? But I'll have to trouble young master again. Luya's face turned even redder when Chu Fengmian exposed her thoughts. She was not a shy person, but Chu Fengmian had just saved her life. Luya owed Chu Fengmian a favor. It was indeed strange that she needed Chu Fengmian's help now. It's fine. It's just a small matter. If you don't come with me this time, I'm afraid you'll have to wait for a few decades, Chu Fengmian said casually. Wait for a few decades? This wasn't too long. There were records that the last time a disciple of the sacred dragon's secret realm came was 100 years ago. Luya no longer hesitated and said to Chu Fengmian, Thank you, young master. With your aptitude, it's more than enough for you to enter the holy dragon mystic realm. Chu Fengmian looked at Luya and said. Luya's talent was much higher than the countless geniuses Chu Fengmian had seen. Although she was on par with Song Rong in the arena, Song Rong was, after all, a disciple of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground, and had been nurtured by the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground. As for Luya, she was able to defeat Song Rong without entering the Holy Dragon Secret Ground. Once she entered the Holy Dragon Secret Ground, Luya's strength would easily surpass young Master Jiuyu and the others. In addition, Chu Fengmian was traveling alone and was indeed bored. It wouldn't be a problem to bring another person along. Luya's expression was still a little dull after hearing Chu Fengmian's agreement. She turned her head and looked at Ancient Spell Island Master before speaking. Uncle Gu, you can go back. Misya, take care. After Ancient Spell Island Master finished speaking, his body moved and disappeared. She didn't need him to travel with Chu Fengmian. Let's go. Chu Fengmian waved his hand, shattering the void and creating a tunnel. This tunnel was condensed in the void, but it wasn't solid. No matter how the spatial storms bombarded the tunnel, they were unable to reach it. Even a 3 or 4 tribulation true emperor wouldn't be able to do such a thing. Luya and the 3 disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret ground couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Exactly what kind of monster was Chu Fengmian before them? This kind of strength had simply surpassed the scope of common sense. There was no common sense that could be applied to Chu Fengmian. 5 figures were traveling through the void. Traveling through the void turbulence was originally a matter without any danger. However, Chu Fengmian's group wasn't at ease at the moment. Chu Fengmian took out the war dragon carriage and sat down with Luya. The remaining 3 disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret ground sat below the throne and respectfully listened to Chu Fengmian's words. They would answer him from time to time. In the eyes of outsiders, the Holy Dragon's secret ground wasn't mysterious at all. However, there were currently 3 disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret ground. Along the way, Chu Fengmian had asked some questions regarding the Holy Dragon's secret ground. The Holy Dragon's secret ground didn't belong to a continent. Instead, it was a force that existed outside of countless continents. The headquarters of the Holy Dragon's secret ground was located in an extraterritorial region. An extraterritorial region was a name given to a few worlds floating in the void. These extraterritorial regions were similar to continents and weren't stable. Many extraterritorial regions were filled with poisonous gas and violent spiritual energy. Ordinary cultivators would be in great danger if they entered these extraterritorial regions. There were even some vicious extraterritorial regions. Even sovereigns would die if they entered these extraterritorial regions. Of course, there were some extraterritorial regions that were exceptions. Not only were these extraterritorial regions not dangerous, but their spiritual energy was dense enough to be comparable to the cultivation sacred grounds of many continents. The Holy Dragon's secret ground was located in such an extraterritorial region. All the disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret ground came from different continents. These continents were actually under the control of the Holy Dragon's secret ground. For example, the ancient Fey continent was one of these continents. Moreover, it was only considered to be in the lower tier among the continents under the control of the Holy Dragon's secret ground. The 5 Elements continent and the Hailstone continent were actually under the control of the Holy Dragon's secret ground. There were hundreds of continents under the Holy Dragon's secret ground. Chu Fengmian was shocked to hear that a single force controlled hundreds of continents. At the same time, he also understood the power of the Holy Dragon's secret ground. The fact that the Holy Dragon's secret ground could control hundreds of continents also meant that its power was enough to do all of this. Otherwise, it would have been overthrown long ago. As for how many experts there were in the Holy Dragon's secret ground, these 3 disciples didn't know. They were only ordinary members of the Holy Dragon's secret ground and didn't enter the inner sect. Thus, they knew very little about it. Of course, even if they were ordinary disciples, they would still be first-rate geniuses in the lower continents with unparalleled status. These 3 disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret ground were called Bei Jin, Hua, and Chang Kong. The 3 of them had some background. Although they weren't as powerful as young noble Jiuyu, the ancestors behind their clans were around the level of 5 tribulation true emperors. This status was even more honorable than the princes of the 3 great empires of the ancient Fey continent. Hua, have you heard of the 9 domains? Chu Fengmian suddenly asked. Chapter 12:37. Chu Fengmian came from the 9 territories, and he would have to go back in the future. On the phone, but there were countless continents in the starry sky. If Chu Fengmian didn't know their exact location, he wouldn't be able to find them one by one even if he reached the 7th layer Emperor realm. The starry sky was vast. If Chu Fengmian searched one by one, he might not be able to find them even after hundreds or thousands of years. The 9 territories? Bei Jin, Hua, and Chang Kong were stunned at first, and their eyes were filled with confusion. After a while, Chong Kong's eyes suddenly flashed with a glimmer of light. Master, are you talking about the 9 territories of the 4 sacred territories? 4 sacred territories? Hearing this, Lu Ye, who was sitting next to Chu Fengmian, couldn't help but ask in confusion. Aren't there only 3 sacred territories in this world? The Pantheon continent, the Myriad Realm continent, and the Central continent. These 3 first-class continents are known as the 3 sacred territories. Is there a 4th sacred territory in this world? 3 sacred territories? First-class continents? Chu Fengmian was secretly surprised when he heard this. This was the first time he had heard of such a title, especially since there were only 3 first-class continents. However, the ancient monster continent was only a 7th-class continent. The 5 elements continent, which was said to be able to easily sweep across the ancient monster continent, was only a 5th-class continent. The power of a first-class continent was probably beyond Chu Fengmian's imagination. It is true that there are only 3 great sacred domains in the current all heavens. However, it is said that millions of years ago there was a sacred domain called the 9 domains. At that time, the 9 domains suppressed the other 3 sacred domains, and became the overlord of the all heavens. Chong Kong thought for a while and then said. But later, it was said that the 9 territories declined and disappeared. But now there are still many masters looking for the 9 territories, but they haven't found anything. I only heard about this from ancient books. Master, are you also planning to look for the 9 territories? Yes. Although Chu Fengmian was surprised, his expression was not normal. No wonder Xing Xian once said that the origin of the 9 territories was extremely shocking. He didn't expect the 9 territories to be a first-class continent and a sacred territory that was even called the Lord of the Heavens. It seemed that the 9 regions were indeed hidden in a place that was extremely difficult to discover, so much so that no one had discovered them for thousands of years. It was also an accident that Chu Fengmian was able to come outside of the 9 regions. If this news were to spread, countless experts would come to deal with Chu Fengmian. It is said that the 9 regions contain the legacies of countless ancient sections. Treasures are everywhere. I want to find the 9 regions. Chu Fengmian replied without batting an eyelid. His answer was no different from the other martialists searching for the 9 domains. After all, most cultivators came to the 9 domains to find the ancient sect legacies of the 9 domains. For example, the Supreme Sword Qi was a sword Dao treasure that originated from the 9 realms. At the very least, Chu Fengmian knew that most of the sects in the Sinkhole Sky realm had been famous since ancient times. Many of these sects had left behind precious treasures that were even coveted by some Emperor Realm masters. Finding the existence of the 9 zones was a great opportunity for any powerhouse. The ancient legacies of the 9 regions are indeed extremely terrifying. The sect legacies of the former lords of all heavens are probably unfathomable. It is said that all the sword Dao sects in the world are related to the sword sects of the 9 regions. Chong Kong nodded when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. The treasures of the 9 regions were extremely attractive to any Emperor Realm master. It was not surprising that Chu Fengmian wanted to go to the 9 regions. It is a pity that the space where the 9 regions are is said to have been hidden by some supreme expert. It is impossible to find it. Chong Kong sighed. As long as he could obtain any of the legacies of the ancient sects of the 9 regions, he would be able to soar to the sky. However, even if there was such an opportunity, it was not something he could obtain. There were many people in all heavens who wanted to obtain the treasures of the 9 regions. Even the remaining 3 sacred regions were unwilling to give up on the 9 regions and planned to seize the treasures of the 9 regions. What great continent is the sacred dragon secret realm? After learning about the 9 regions, Chu Fengmian did not intend to bring up this topic. Instead, he changed the topic. The sacred dragon secret realm was enough to make all the grade 5 continents submit to it. It was probably a powerful force in all heavens. Although our sacred dragon secret realm is not a continent, It is generally classified as a Grade 3 continent. Hearing Chu Fengmian's question, the painting could not help but show some pride. They were all disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm. When they mentioned this, they could not help but feel proud. The sacred dragon's secret realm is only a Grade 3 continent? It is enough to rule over hundreds of continents. How strong are the Grade 2 and Grade 1 continents? Chu Fengmian was stunned when he heard this, but he soon understood. The extraterritorial starry sky was far from what the 9 regions could compare to. The extraterritorial starry sky was so vast that there were tens of thousands of continents. Although the sacred dragon's secret realm ruled over hundreds of continents, it was still incomparable to the true giants. Of course, in the extraterritorial starry sky, the sacred dragon's secret realm was still considered a giant. Boom! At this moment, a huge turbulence suddenly swept across the void. The turbulence in the void was many times stronger than the one in the ancient monster continent. If the spatial turbulence in the ancient Fey continent was like a small stream, then the spatial turbulence here was like a vast ocean that was crashing down like waves. Is this the turbulence in the ancient monster continent? We have already left the ancient monster continent? Chu Fengmian exclaimed. This was the first time he had left the continent by himself. Chu Fengmian saw a jade talisman floating in front of Beijing, painting and Chong Kong. It was the power of the jade talisman that protected the battle dragon treasure chariot from the turbulence in the void. Without these jade talismans, even with Chu Fengmian's current strength, he would have been swept away by the turbulence in the void. If he was lucky, he would end up in another continent and be severely injured. If it was serious, he would be directly crushed by the turbulence in the void. Unless one was a 7 tribulation true emperor, there was no way to resist the power of the turbulence in the void. When the disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm went to other continents, they were given jade talismans by the elders. These jade talismans were refined by the elders of the 7 tribulation true emperor lands. They are enough to resist the turbulence in the void. Chong Kong explained from the side. Chapter 1238. The sacred dragon's secret realm does have some tricks up its sleeve. Chu Fengmian exclaimed. Even a 6 tribulation true emperor would be torn apart if he tried to resist the power of this chaotic space. But now, this talisman was enough to allow a quasi-emperor to travel through space. This talisman, Chu Fengmian suddenly looked over and carefully sensed the power of the jade talisman. The power of the jade talisman wasn't very strong. Even with Chu Fengmian's current strength, it was likely that he would be able to break it. However, this talisman was able to separate the spatial storms. There was a type of spatial power on the surface. It was this kind of spatial power that separated the surrounding spatial storm. It did not rely on the power of the surface to forcefully resist the power of the spatial storm. Such a mysterious spatial power. Looks like the creator of this talisman has reached the apex of mastery in the law of space. Chu Fengmian mumbled to himself. Quietly, he also activated the power of the heavenly dragon transformation. Chu Fengmian's mastery of the law of space wasn't low either. Progenitor Tianlong was a connate divine beast that could control space. After obtaining Tianlong's essence blood, Chu Fengmian's understanding of the law of space far surpassed demon gods at the same level. Although he wasn't at the same level as the elder who made the talisman, he wasn't bad either. I'll go back, Chu Fengmian suddenly said calmly. His body left the carriage and flew away in a flash. Alone, Chu Fengmian came to the center of the spatial turbulence. Suddenly, countless spatial turbulence whizzed toward him. Master? Young noble. Na Hua's group and Lu Yu were shocked to see Chu Fengmian's action. They had heard of the power of the turbulence. Even a 6 tribulation true emperor would be torn apart if they tried to resist it, let alone Chu Fengmian. Don't worry, Chu Fengmian casually said. He quietly gathered the power of Tianlong transformation. The law of space immediately revolved around Chu Fengmian. The spatial storms that were attacking Chu Fengmian were quietly neutralized. This scene almost scared the hell out of everyone. Only 7 tribulation true emperors and above could cross the stars with their physical bodies. However, Chu Fengmian had not even advanced to quasi-emperor. He was merely an immortal. Yet, he managed to cross the starry heavens. This could no longer be described as demonic geniuses. This was even more astonishing than when Chu Fengmian defeated all his enemies. Who? After resisting for about 10 breaths of time, Chu Fengmian's figure moved and returned to the war dragon carriage. He looked a little tired. The amount of energy required to resist the spatial turbulence was much more than Chu Fengmian had imagined. With his full strength, he could at most maintain it for a dozen breaths of time. If he maintained it for a little longer, Chu Fengmian's life would be in danger. However, it only lasted for a dozen breaths of time, which was already extremely shocking. Master Jiuyu, the 3 of them looked at Chu Fengmian, speechless. Luya looked at Chu Fengmian. She was scared out of her wits. Chu Fengmian had withstood the spatial storm with his strength of the immortal realm. Who would believe him if he told others about it? This kind of thing that defied common sense seemed to be happening more and more with Chu Fengmian. It was as if Chu Fengmian was an existence that defied common sense. Let's try it out. My control of the spatial law has improved, Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. After all, the power of progenitor Tianlong was an external force. It did not belong to Chu Fengmian, even though it had been integrated into his bloodline. However, he still needed to practice again and again to become more familiar with it. After a minute, Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy was restored again. For venerable sovereigns, it would take a few days, or even a few months, to fully recover their lost spiritual power. However, Chu Fengmian had the divine pulse. Although his divine pulse could no longer restore his spiritual energy in an instant like before, it was still 1 minute. However, in 1 minute, he would surpass other venerable sovereigns by thousands of times. After the recovery, Chu Fengmian's figure moved and once again left the war dragon carriage. He urged the power of Tianlong to resist the spatial storm. This action lasted for half an hour. The moment the spatial storm completely disappeared, Chu Fengmian reluctantly came back to his senses. In this half an hour, Chu Fengmian had practiced at least 20 times. His control of Tianlong's bloodline was becoming more and more familiar with each use. From the first 10 breaths to the last, Chu Fengmian lasted for 20 breaths. The power of the spatial storm did not change at all. It was just that Chu Fengmian's control of the spatial law had become more and more proficient. If this is the case, maybe I don't need a 7 tribulation true emperor to cross the starry sky. But it's still far from enough. Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. With Tianlong's bloodline, Chu Fengmian's control of the spatial law was far superior to demon gods of the same level. He didn't need to become a 7 tribulation true emperor to cross the starry sky. Of course, Chu Fengmian could only resist the spatial storm for 20 breaths. It would take at least a few days to cross the starry sky. If he were to go to a distant continent, it would take dozens of days. Chu Fengmian was still far from enough. Nevertheless, he still understood a few tricks to cross the starry sky. Chu Fengmian returned to the carriage and sat down with his eyes closed. He slowly digested his understanding of the spatial law. The starry sky was the best place to comprehend the spatial law. It wasn't easy to find this opportunity, so Chu Fengmian quickened his pace. After 3 days and 3 nights, Chu Fengmian slowly opened his eyes. His power and aura didn't change at all. However, his understanding of the spatial law had far surpassed his previous level. With Tianlong's power, even a 4 or 5 tribulation true emperor wouldn't be able to stop Chu Fengmian. This gave Chu Fengmian an extra life-saving card. Master, we're about to reach the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm's extraterritorial zone. Not long after, Hua told Chu Fengmian. There was still an endless expanse of space ahead. However, Chu Fengmian felt that there was something hidden in this place. Chu Fengmian slowly put away the carriage. He didn't want to be too ostentatious and continued forward. Chapter 1239. The river was so vast that one couldn't see the end of it. It appeared out of nowhere in the starry sky. What made Chu Fengmian fearless was the fact that the power contained within this long river was simply endless. This was the first time Chu Fengmian had such a feeling. It was when he saw the divine tree. This river was definitely a supreme treasure, one that was not inferior to the world of fresh blood. Once someone obtained this river, they could channel their spirit energy and mercilessly crush any 7 tribulation or 8 tribulation true emperor. Even if they had a myriad of methods, they wouldn't be able to do anything. In the face of absolute power, all methods were meaningless. However, Chu Fengmian knew that this river wasn't something he could obtain right now. Moreover, this river was clearly a supreme treasure of the sacred dragon's secret realm. Once he tried to take it, he would be mercilessly attacked by the secret realm. Only after he became a 9 tribulation true emperor would he have a chance to do so. Master, please wait a moment. Hua and the others hurriedly stopped Chu Fengmian and slowly took out a jade talisman. Once the talisman was taken out, the violent spirit energy in the river slowly calmed down. Then, a path was opened for Hua and the others to enter. After entering the river, Chu Fengmian could see that there was another universe within. In the middle of the river, continents appeared one after another. Many of these continents were incomplete. Rather than calling them continents, it would be better to call them pieces of extraterritorial lands. As far as the eye could see, there were thousands of such extraterritorial lands of various sizes in the land of the Long River. Of course, many of them were smaller than a country in the ancient monster continent. However, they still had different environments. In fact, even one of the extraterritorial lands was an erupting volcano. What the volcano erupted wasn't ordinary fire, but heavenly fire. Heavenly fire from the 9 heavens. At the heart of this volcano was a type of colorless flame, the pure yang heavenly fire. There were many special extraterrestrial lands like this. Some were so cold that true emperors would freeze to death if they couldn't withstand the chill. There were also some extraterritorial lands that were filled with poisonous gas. Once one came into contact with the poisonous gas, one would definitely die. Of course, it wasn't just dangerous. These extraterrestrial lands also had countless opportunities. For example, the volcano-like extraterrestrial lands had countless opportunities. There were also countless spirit grasses growing in the heavenly fire. These spirit grasses weren't afraid of being burned by the heavenly fire at all. Instead, they were absorbing the heavenly fire to grow. Chu Fengmian knew that this was a kind of spiritual medicine called the flaming grass. It was an out-and-out panacea that contained the purest fire spiritual energy. For martial artists and Yao gods who cultivated in the fire attribute, it had an indescribable effect and was extremely rare. It could only grow in a hot place where it had absorbed thousands of years of fire energy. In this volcano, it was only possible to grab a handful of zest. In some other dangerous extraterritorial lands, not only were there dangers, there were also opportunities. I can't believe that these lands were forcibly brought here by an expert? Chu Fengmian sharply noticed that these extraterrestrial lands had traces of being forcibly taken away. In other words, these extraterrestrial lands didn't originate from the river. Instead, they were taken one by an almighty using some unknown method. That was why this Taoist temple was here. That's right. These extraterrestrial lands were all taken by our holy dragon's secret realm's progenitor from the extraterrestrial starry sky. Hua explained after hearing Chu Fengmian's words. These extraterrestrial lands are places for the disciples of the holy dragon's secret realm to train. They are often open for the disciples of the holy dragon's secret realm to train. Of course, many of these extraterrestrial lands are extremely dangerous. Even elders might die if they enter them. Only the core disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret realm are qualified to enter those places. Ordinary disciples like us can only go to the less dangerous extraterrestrial land. Of course, a large number of disciples will die every year. Chu Fengmian nodded after hearing Hua Hua's words. The Holy Dragon's secret realm was indeed blessed by the heavens when it came to nurturing disciples. With so many extraterrestrial lands, the disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret realm only needed to enter them to train. In this way, the losses would be minimized. Furthermore, there were countless sacred herbs and resources growing in these extraterritorial lands for the sacred dragon mystical ground to use. The founder of the Holy Dragon's secret realm is definitely a supreme almighty. This kind of spending is truly shocking. Taking thousands of extraterrestrial lands for the disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret realm to train. Chu Fengmian had never heard of this kind of spending before. One had to know that only a 7 tribulation true emperor could barely cross the starry sky with his physical body. However, these extraterrestrial lands were hidden in the starry sky. Not to mention taking them away, even a 9 tribulation true emperor wouldn't be able to move them. To be able to take away extraterrestrial lands, this was definitely something that had surpassed the sovereign realm and stepped into the heavenly being realm. Only an almighty in the capital of heavenly beings could do it. By the way, have you heard of Luo Shi and Han Yueli? Chu Fengmian suddenly turned his head and asked. Along the way, Chu Fengmian had almost forgotten about this matter. After all, it was his first time crossing the starry sky. Chu Fengmian's attention was focused on the extraterrestrial starry sky. Luo Shi and Han Yueli? Master, how did you know? Hearing Chu Fengmian's question, the three were stunned for a moment before they hurriedly answered. These two are now the top geniuses in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. They are the 2 youngest core disciples. It is said that they suddenly arrived in the Holy Dragon's secret realm a few months ago. Han Yueli is extremely talented and was accepted as a disciple by a grand elder on the spot. As for Luo Shi, although her strength is ordinary, she has a strange beast following her. It is said that a grand elder once wanted to forcefully capture that strange beast, but was severely injured by her. Since then, Luo Shi used that strange beast to join the ranks of the core disciples. No one dares to look down on her. It seems that the 2 of them are doing well in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. Chu Fengmian smiled casually. Chu Fengmian knew that the disciples of the Holy Dragon's secret realm were divided into 5 types. Ordinary disciples, inner disciples, true disciples, core disciples, and chosen disciples of the sect. The chosen disciples of the sect were the successors of countless big shots in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. Core disciples were the highest-ranking disciples in the Holy Dragon's secret realm. Chapter 1240. The disciples of the sacred dragon mystic domain were all geniuses born from hundreds of continents. There was no lack of monstrous geniuses among them. Some of the core disciples were not inferior to many elders in terms of strength. However, they still wanted to improve and fight for the position of chosen, which was why they did not become elders. It was unimaginable how monstrous the geniuses carefully selected from hundreds of continents were. Although Chu Fengmian had encountered countless things and had lived 2 lives, he still might not be the most monstrous genius. Master, do you know the 2 of them? Those who had drawn well asked Chu Fengmian. Han Yueli and Luo Shi had suddenly appeared a few months ago. Even many of the disciples of the sacred dragon mystic domain, who were training outside, had not heard of their names. That's right. Chu Fengmian nodded and did not explain further. Did the 2 of them encounter any trouble? Big trouble? It's nothing. However, I heard that several people in the chosen land are thinking of pursuing the 2 of them. Painting pondered for a moment and said, Han Yueli has an innate godly body. Anyone who dual cultivates with her will definitely receive great benefit. They can even use some methods to directly deprive the innate godly body of its power. The strange beast in Luo Shi's hand is also extremely special. It is said that many grand elders do not know the origin of the strange beast. They only know that its bloodline is not precious. Many chosen are also aiming for these 2 points and want to pursue them. Hearing this, killing intent immediately appeared in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Han Yueli and Luo Shi were both his women. Now, there were actually people who dared to spy on them with malicious intentions. No matter what chosen they are, only death awaits those who dare to provoke me. Killing intent exploded from Chu Fengmian's body. Painting, and Lu Yu were all shocked. It was the first time they had seen Chu Fengmian so angry. Even when Chu Fengmian was surrounded and attacked previously, he had a calm and indifferent appearance. Now, fear appeared in their eyes under his anger. Forget it. Since we're already in the sacred dragon mystic domain, there's nothing to worry about. Chu Fengmian suppressed the killing intent in his heart and raised his head to look ahead. This long river was about to reach its end. At this moment, the figure of an old man slowly appeared. Chu Fengmian could sense a surging spirit energy from the old man. He was probably a 6 tribulation or 7 tribulation true emperor. At the very least, the current Chu Fengmian would undoubtedly die if he were to fight this old man. Behind the old man, there were 2 young men who followed him. From the looks of it, they should be disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension. When this old man suddenly appeared, the 3 people on the painting quickly stopped and respectfully asked, "Senior brother, please accept my invitation." "So it's Elder Deku." As it spoke, the painting quietly transmitted its voice to Chu Fengmian. Elder Deku is one of the guardian elders of the sacred dragon mystery domain. Today, it is his turn to guard. In a while, he will test Master's aptitude. "Master, please do not resist." Testing aptitude? After hearing the painting's words, Chu Fengmian quietly concealed most of his encounters. There were too many encounters that Chu Fengmian couldn't afford to be discovered. Whether it was the power of creation or an extreme immortal weapon, these were things that even a 9 tribulation true emperor or a celestial being beyond the sovereign realm would want to obtain. Once it was exposed, it would most likely be seized by the experts of the Holy Dragon Mystic Ground. Chu Fengmian only revealed his battle dragon bloodline and the 5 laws of heaven and earth, pretending to be an ordinary genius. Painting, why did you go to the ancient monster continent to search for geniuses? Why did 2 people come back missing? Elder Deku asked with a frown after seeing that only 3 people were left in the paintings group. It's like this. Elder, we set up an arena to screen out the geniuses. Those 2 died in the arena. The painting spoke truthfully. Lying was easier to expose. Moreover, there were many disciples of the sacred dragon's secret realm who died outside every year. Even if 2 of them died, it was nothing. He was actually beaten to death in the arena? The ones who killed the 2 of them were these 2 little fellows, right? Elder Deku wasn't angry after hearing the painting's words. Instead, he looked directly at Chu Fengmian and Lu Yu. His gaze directly penetrated Chu Fengmian and Lu Yu's bodies, as if he wanted to see through everything that had happened to them. 5 worldly laws? Battle dragon bloodline? These are 8 laws of heaven and earth? After taking a glance, Elder Deku's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. Then, he spoke. That's right. They're all geniuses with extremely high aptitude. This time, our sacred dragon mystery dimension doesn't have many geniuses with such outstanding aptitude. It's good that those 2 pieces of trash died in the arena. They've insulted the name of our sacred dragon mystery dimension. You 2 take them away. Let's see who among the 4 sects and 8 halls wants to accept them. After Elder Deku finished speaking, the 2 young disciples behind him planned to take Chu Fengmian and Lu Yu away. However, at this moment, a gust of wind suddenly swept over and the surrounding space was shattered. In this gust of wind, one could faintly see the appearance of a woman. Wind Empress Emperor Gu? Elder Deku was taken aback when he saw the woman clearly. Then, he hurriedly spoke. I wonder why Supreme Elder has come. May I ask why you're here? Emperor Gu? Supreme Elder? Chu Fengmian's gaze towards the woman changed abruptly when he heard this title. Emperor Gu wasn't a title that just anyone could call her. Most of the Emperor Realm Masters were called True Emperors. However, True Emperor was only a title for those below the 6th Tribulation Emperor Realm. Those who reached the 7th Tribulation Emperor Realm were no longer called True Emperors, but Emperor Gu. Such a person would be a great figure in the ancient era, an existence that could be called Emperor. As for true emperors below the 7th Tribulation Emperor Realm, in the ancient era, they were at most a character and far from being called emperors. The woman before him was called Emperor Gu, Wind Empress. She was at least a 7th Tribulation Emperor Realm Master, someone who was on the same level as Heavenly Rock Emperor. This was the first time Chu Fengmian was so close to such a master. This woman is fated with me. I'll take her away. The woman ignored Elder D. Ku's words and pointed at Lu Ye. With a wave of her hand, she was about to take Lu Ye away. Senior, please wait. Chapter 1241. Is there anything else? Emperor Gu looked at Lu Ye. His eyes were much gentler and did not look as cold as before. This young master saved my life in the ancient monster continent. I would like you to arrange a good place for him. Lu Ye looked at the Wind Empress Ancient Emperor and said slowly. Upon hearing this, the two Sacred Dragon Secret Domain disciples standing behind Elder D. Fan revealed envious expressions. Coming to the Holy Dragon Secret Domain was only the first step of the assessment. After that, they still had to go through the assessment to become a disciple. Moreover, the 3 people from the 4 great clans had returned to their respective halls. Chu Fengmian did not need to use them unless there was something urgent. The Holy Dragon Secret Domain disciple led Chu Fengmian through the Holy Dragon Secret Domain. The entire Holy Dragon Secret Domain was huge. It was even bigger than the ancient monster continent. It did not look like an extraterritorial land. In fact, it was no different from a real continent. On this continent there were a total of 13 mountains. Among the 13 mountains, 12 of them were the locations of the 4 sects and 8 halls of the Holy Dragon Mystical Ground. Every disciple of the Holy Dragon Secret Domain belonged to the 4 sects and 8 halls. There were no exceptions. Most of the elders were also from the 4 sects and 8 halls, except for the hidden old antique. The 4 sects and 8 halls each had their own specialties. For example, the Martial Tyrant Hall was the pinnacle of martial arts. One could learn martial arts from hundreds of continents. Although the Thousand Dragon Hall was called the Dragon Hall, it was actually the gathering place of the demon gods. However, dragons were revered. Most of the demon gods who entered the Holy Dragon Secret Domain were there for the Thousand Dragon Hall. Below it were the Human Hall, Divine Medicine Hall, Thousand Weapon Hall, and so on. As for the 4 sects, they were beyond the 8 halls. Only the monstrous geniuses of the 8 halls were qualified to join them. Of course, there were some exceptional geniuses who joined the 4 sects the moment they entered the Holy Dragon Secret Domain. However, such geniuses were rare even in the Holy Dragon Secret Domain. The Holy Dragon Sect was the leader of the 4 sects and 8 halls. For decades, no disciple had joined them, let alone a newcomer. As for the last mountain peak, it was the assessment peak of the Holy Dragon Mystery Land. There were countless palaces on the peak, and all of them were geniuses who were waiting for the assessment of the Holy Dragon Mystery Land. Chu Fengmian's target was the assessment peak. Chu Fengmian only glanced at the 13 mountains once before he stopped looking at them. His gaze was completely attracted by a huge stone statue in the distance. The stone statue was over 1,000 miles long. Chu Fengmian could see it clearly even from a great distance away. Dragon head, dragon body, and dragon tail. It was a huge stone statue of the Dragon Clan. The moment he saw the skeleton, Chu Fengmian felt a sense of familiarity in his bloodline. Thousandly Stone Dragon. When Chu Fengmian had first divined the location of Han Yueli and Luo Shi, he had seen this 1,000-mile stone dragon. According to Xing Xian, the statue of the stone dragon was none other than the ancestor of all dragons, the primal heavenly dragon. Chu Fengmian possessed the bloodline of the battle dragon. In his bloodline, he had awakened a part of Tianlong's bloodline. Therefore, he felt a sense of familiarity when he saw the 1,000-mile stone dragon statue. "Why aren't you moving?" While Chu Fengmian was in a daze, the Holy Dragon Mystery Land disciple turned his head and asked in confusion. He looked in the direction of Chu Fengmian's gaze and quickly came to his senses. Chapter 1242. It's enough to comprehend martial skills and secret skills from the statue? Chu Fengmian asked in astonishment after hearing the words of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm disciple. When he was looking at the statue of primogenitor Tianlong, he only felt a sense of familiarity. As for comprehending martial skills and secret skills from the statue, Chu Fengmian was unable to sense it as it was too far away. That's right. This statue of primogenitor Tianlong is actually one of the most precious treasures of our Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. It's said that the Almighty who carved this statue also carved countless profound martial skills and secret skills into it. For example, the saints of our Holy Dragon Mystic Realm were able to soar into the sky after comprehending some martial skills from it. Saying this, the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm disciple suddenly lowered his voice and spoke to Chu Fengmian in a mysterious manner. Furthermore, according to the rumors, this statue of primogenitor Tianlong was personally carved by primogenitor Tianlong. Primogenitor Tianlong personally carved it. Hearing this, Chu Fengmian could not help but become excited. Primogenitor Tianlong was an innate divine beast. He was someone who stood at the pinnacle of the extraterritorial starry sky, an unparalleled existence that could move unhindered across countless continents. Not to mention a statue personally carved by such a person, even a casual mark left behind by him would contain the pinnacle of martial skills. Once one comprehended it, the benefits would be endless. According to the records, the founding ancestor of our Holy Dragon Mystic Realm once followed primogenitor Tianlong. Later on, primogenitor Tianlong bestowed this statue to him as the foundation for the establishment of our sect. The Holy Dragon Mystic Realm disciple was not impatient as he explained in detail to Chu Fengmian. Every disciple of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm is qualified to comprehend this statue of primogenitor Tianlong at a close distance. However, they must pay a sufficient amount of contribution point. Furthermore, it's not only limited to this statue of primogenitor Tianlong. In our Holy Dragon Mystic Realm, there are many items left behind by Almighty. As long as you have sufficient contribution points, you can go and comprehend them. As for the contribution points, you'll know once you join the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. Chu Fengmian nodded his head after hearing this. Contribution points were something that every sect had. Only by using contribution points could one exchange for sect resources. As long as one worked for the sect, one would be able to obtain a sum of contribution points. Thank you for your explanation. Chu Fengmian nodded and said to the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension disciple. It's all right. We're all newcomers. My name is Kong Chen. I'm a disciple of the Human Sect Hall. If there's anything you don't understand, you can find me at the Human Sect Hall. Kong Chen said with an easygoing smile. Let's go first. I'll try to comprehend it when I have the time. Looking from afar, Chu Fengmian could only see a blur. He might as well find an opportunity to study it up close. After taking a few more glances, Chu Fengmian withdrew his gaze and continued to follow the Sacred Dragon's secret domain disciple. Soon, Kong Chen led Chu Fengmian to the assessment peak. Weren't there two newcomers? Why is there only one? When they arrived at a palace, an old man said in surprise when he saw Chu Fengmian walk in. That newcomer was taken away by Emperor Gu. Kong Chen replied. Give him a better cave abode. There are already quite a number of newcomers this time. As for the cave dwelling, only Heart Scar Peak is left. The old man looked at the token in his hand, and suddenly took out a jade talisman and handed it to Chu Fengmian. A location was marked on the surface of the jade talisman. It seemed to be the location of Chu Fengmian's cave dwelling. Heart Scar Peak? Kong Chen couldn't help but frown. It wasn't a good place. Heart Scar Peak is the only one left. Most of the other cave dwellings have been allocated. The old man couldn't help but say when he saw Kong Chen's expression. Heart Scar Peak's spiritual energy is not far from Enlightenment Peak. Humph, I'm afraid that no matter how rich the spiritual energy is, they won't be able to enjoy it. Kong Chen snorted coldly. What's wrong with Heart Scar Peak? Chu Fengmian couldn't help but ask when he saw Kong Chen's tone. Heart Scar Peak used to be one of the best cave dwellings in the Sacred Dragon secret domain. However, a 9 Tribulation true emperor cultivated in Heart Scar Peak for 100,000 years and still couldn't reach the celestial realm. In the end, he was angered to death and left behind a heart demon in Heart Scar Peak. Kong Chen frowned and said, although the heart demon was removed later on, it's still very easy to be corroded by it if you cultivate in Heart Scar Peak. You'd better find another cave dwelling. No, Heart Scar Peak. If you don't want it, there are people lining up for it. The old man said with disdain after hearing Kong Chen's words. Although the old man wasn't an elder of the Sacred Dragon secret domain, he was still an old man. He didn't care about an ordinary disciple. No need to fight. Heart Scar Peak, Heart Scar Peak. Some heart demons can be used for training. Chu Fengmian said casually and didn't bother to argue. Heart demons? Chu Fengmian had lived 2 lives and had experienced death once. It could be said that no cultivator had experienced it before. In terms of mental fortitude, not many people in the world could compare to Chu Fengmian. Be careful. Kong Chen didn't argue after seeing Chu Fengmian agree, and left with Chu Fengmian. Just as Chu Fengmian turned to leave, many people rushed in from outside. Most of these people were quasi-emperors. They surrounded a young man and walked in like stars surrounding the moon. This young man was only a quasi-emperor, but he had a total of 20 worldly laws on his body. He looked like a newcomer who had just entered the Sacred Dragon secret domain. However, many of the Sacred Dragon secret domain's disciples were already very powerful. Young Master Mu, please come in. When the old man saw the young man walk in, he immediately showed a flattering smile and tried to curry favor with him. I've already reserved the best cave abode in Enlightenment Mountain for you. Yes, well done. When this young master joins the Sacred Dragon secret domain, you won't be short of benefits. The young man, who was addressed as young Master Mu, nodded his head. Without batting an eyelid, he directly took away a jade talisman. The jade talisman was located at the heart of the mountain. Obviously, this old man didn't have a cave dwelling, but he didn't want to give it to Chu Fengmian. Who is this person? Chu Fengmian asked as he looked at Kong Chen. When Kong Chen looked at young Master Mu, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. You don't know? Kong Chen was surprised when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Chapter 1243. Bai Mu is the most devilish genius among this batch of newcomers. Many people have their eyes on him. Rumor has it that he has the potential to join the 4 sections. 1. Kong Chen whispered to Chu Fengmian. Heavenly Pavilion Continent? Chu Fengmian didn't know about the Mu clan, but he had heard of the Heavenly Pavilion Continent. It was a 4th-ranked continent. A 4th-ranked continent in the starry sky was already considered one. No wonder why this person was so devilish. He was a genius from a 4th-ranked continent. Since he was called Young Master Mu, it was clear that he had a great background. It seemed that even the disciples of the Sacred Dragon secret domain had to curry favor with him. Although the disciples of the Sacred Dragon secret domain had an extraordinary status outside, ordinary disciples still had to curry favor with a genius from a 4th-ranked continent. Looks like this Sacred Dragon secret domain is full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. This is only a newcomer. According to Hua and the others, A newcomer's strength would increase by at least 3 times once they officially join the Sacred Dragon's secret domain. If young Master Mu's strength increased by 3 times, it would be equivalent to having 60 worldly laws. This would surpass countless Second Tribulation True Emperors and could barely be considered as a 3 Tribulation True Emperor. If he went to some of the weaker continents, he would be considered a big shot. Moreover, this was only the strength that young Master Mu had displayed. Chu Fengmian felt that this was only the tip of the iceberg. If young Master Mu went all out, Chu Fengmian would be in a bit of trouble. Unless Chu Fengmian also used his full strength, it would be very difficult to defeat him. Oh? Another newcomer? While Chu Fengmian was observing young Master Mu's gaze suddenly shifted towards Chu Fengmian. The disciples of the Sacred Dragon's secret domain had a jade badge hanging on their chest to indicate their identity. Those who didn't have a badge in the Sacred Dragon's secret domain were newcomers who hadn't passed the assessment. 5 worldly laws? Battle Dragon bloodline? Not bad, you have some potential. I can use you. Young Master Mu glanced at Chu Fengmian as if he wanted to see through everything about Chu Fengmian. However, he could only see through Chu Fengmian's performance. The previous elder couldn't see through Chu Fengmian's concealment. Young Master Mu naturally couldn't do it. Young Master Mu, it is this person's fortune to have taken a liking to him. A Yao god standing beside young Master Mu laughed heartily when he heard this. This demon immortal was from the Tiger Clan. Although there weren't many Tiger Clan members in the ancient monster continent, they weren't uncommon on many continents where demons reigned supreme. The Tiger Demon God looked at Chu Fengmian, then suddenly walked over. Kid, young Master Mu is looking at you. Why don't you hurry up and come over here to work for young Master Mu? To be able to work for young Master Mu is a blessing that you could never ask for in your entire life. The Tiger Demon God said arrogantly to Chu Fengmian. Which continent are you from? What's his name? Chu Fengmian, Ancient Monster Continent. Chu Fengmian replied casually. As for why I'm working for young Master Mu, forget it. I'm used to being alone, and I'm not used to working for anyone. Humph? The Ancient Monster Continent? It's just a mere 7th-rank continent. It's said that no one has been selected to enter the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane for 100 years. I never thought that one would come this year. When he heard about the Ancient Monster Continent, the Tiger Demon God's eyes were filled with disdain. Although he wasn't from young Master Mu's background, he was still from a 6th-ranked continent. The difference of only 1 rank was like heaven and earth. He naturally looked down on Chu Fengmian, who was from a 7th-rank continent. One had to know that different ranks of continents produced different geniuses. This was because the cultivation techniques, martial skills, and secret techniques were all on different levels. Young Master Mu was the best example. He was from a 4th-rank continent and had yet to enter the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane, but he was already stronger than many ordinary disciples of the Sacred Dragon Mystery Plane. Kid, do you know young Master Mu's background? Working for young Master Mu is something that many people dream of. How dare you refuse? The Tiger Demon God frowned when he heard Chu Fengmian's refusal. Be sensible and come over here and kneel. From the Tiger Demon God's tone, it was as if it was an honorable thing to work for young Master Mu. This made Chu Fengmian's face turn cold. Chu Fengmian never stirred up trouble, but he wasn't afraid of others provoking him. Not interested. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly. Scram. Kid, what did you say? The Tiger Demon God was enraged when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. In an instant, surging spiritual energy was about to erupt. Even a ferocious tiger slowly condensed behind his back. This ferocious tiger was his original form, just like a ferocious tiger that was about to hunt. Stop. This is the cave palace, not a place for you to fight. If you want to fight, go to the life and death arena. The old man who had been silent all this while suddenly spoke. In any case, he was the person in charge of managing this immortal's cave palace. Fighting in this immortal's cave palace was completely inappropriate. Moreover, you are not disciples of the sacred dragon mystery plane. Anyone who dares to break the rules will die. Forget it. Hearing the old man's words, a voice suddenly sounded. Young Master Mu's eyes flashed coldly. He glanced at Chu Fengmian, then shook his head at the tiger demon god. Only then did the tiger demon god stop. They were still newcomers who hadn't even passed the test. It was indeed inappropriate for them to challenge the authority of the sacred dragon mystery plane at this time. However, today's enmity had been sowed. Kid, you're very arrogant. Anyone who dares to be arrogant in front of me, Hu Gu, must die. The tiger demon god stared at Chu Fengmian and said coldly. We have plenty of ways to kill you in the sacred dragon mystery plane. Is that so? Facing the threat, Chu Fengmian's face was calm and indifferent. Come then. After saying that, Chu Fengmian had no intention of fighting. He moved and left the palace without caring about young Master Mu. Hu Gu watched Chu Fengmian's back disappear before he couldn't help but look at young Master Mu and ask in confusion. Young Master Mu, why didn't you let me teach him a lesson just now? Young Master Mu will definitely be the king of this batch of newcomers. Whoever dares to defy your orders must be taught a lesson. Of course I must teach him a lesson, but not now. Young Master Mu's eyes flashed coldly. With his background and talent, almost all the geniuses from different continents would voluntarily submit to him and work for him. However, Chu Fengmian's actions today were a slap to his face. He wasn't young Master Mu if he could swallow this humiliation. Find a few people to rob his cave palace and teach him a lesson. Yes. Chapter 1244. Chu Fengmian, you'll be in trouble if you offend young Master Mu. Kong Chen said to Chu Fengmian as he left the palace with Chu Fengmian. Young Master Mu is narrow-minded. Since you rejected him today, he'll definitely find a chance to take revenge on you. Although there are some rules in the sacred dragon's secret domain, and he won't dare to kill you, most of the elders will turn a blind eye to the fights between disciples. Come if you want to take revenge on me. Chu Fengmian smiled when he heard Kong Chen's words. He didn't care about young Master Mu. If young Master Mu wanted to court death, Chu Fengmian would fulfill his wish. Thank you for the journey. Take these spiritual stones as my repayment. Chu Fengmian's palm suddenly moved and 10 spiritual stones appeared in his palm. He handed them to Kong Chen. Spiritual stones? I don't lack. Just as Kong Chen was about to refuse, he suddenly felt an incomparably pure spiritual energy. Looking over, a trace of shock flashed through his eyes. The 10 spiritual stones in Chu Fengmian's palm were milky white. Upon closer inspection, there wasn't even a trace of impurity. This kind of spiritual stone could only be found in many ancient continents. It was extremely useful even for many emperors. Saint-grade spiritual stones? Kong Chen swallowed the words that he wanted to refuse. Before becoming Emperor Gu, saint-grade spiritual stones were extremely useful. Not only could they be used for cultivation, but they could also be used to set up formations and activate spiritual weapons. Even Emperor Gu would want to get their hands on them. To him, 10 saint-grade spiritual stones would be of great use when he broke through to the next realm. This is too expensive, Kong Chen said hesitantly. 10 saint-grade spiritual stones were enough to buy some rare items that were of great use to emperors. It wasn't a small amount for him. It's all right. You've helped me a lot. 10 spiritual stones is nothing. Chu Fengmian said casually. Now that he had the divine pulse, he could condense saint-grade spiritual stones anytime and anywhere. Chu Fengmian couldn't take out a large number of saint-grade spirit stones, but he could easily take out a few hundred or a few thousand. All right then. After hearing Chu Fengmian's words, Kong Chen hesitated for a moment before accepting the saint-grade spirit stones. After all, 10 saint-grade spiritual stones were of great use to him. Moreover, judging from Chu Fengmian's appearance, it seemed like Chu Fengmian didn't care about these things. How can the warriors of the ancient monster continent be so rich? Could it be that this person also has a shocking background? Kong Chen looked at Chu Fengmian curiously. The ancient monster continent was only a level 7 continent. Sacred grade spiritual stones could only be found on level 4 and above continent. However, Kong Chen was only guessing. Every warrior had their own secrets, so he didn't want to ask. I'm at the human sect hall. If you need anything, you can look for me. Kong Chen looked at Chu Fengmian and said with a smile. Then I'll take my leave first. Kong Chen said as he arrived at Heart Scar Peak. All right then. Chu Fengmian nodded and leaped into Heart Scar Peak. Every mountain in the Sacred Dragon secret domain had a unique restriction. These restrictions were so strong that only 7 tribulation emperors could set them up. Even Chu Fengmian couldn't force his way in. However, when Chu Fengmian approached, the jade talisman suddenly flickered and opened a path in the restriction in front of Chu Fengmian, allowing Chu Fengmian to enter. As soon as he stepped into Heart Scar Peak, Chu Fengmian felt a surge of spiritual energy. The spiritual energy here was so rich that Chu Fengmian gasped in amazement. It wasn't inferior to the huge spiritual spring that Chu Fengmian found under the sky connecting tower. There seems to be a unique spiritual spring under Heart Scar Peak. That's why there's such rich spiritual energy here. Chu Fengmian observed for a while and said, in such a rich environment, there must be a spiritual spring under the ground. With the existence of the spiritual spring, Chu Fengmian could continuously absorb the spiritual energy here and turn it into spirit stones for his use. This was much faster than accumulating spiritual energy bit by bit. However, if that was the case, the secret of Chu Fengmian's divine pulse might be discovered by the experts in the Sacred Dragon secret domain. The divine pulse could be said to be Chu Fengmian's biggest secret apart from his second life. Chu Fengmian had heard of the legend of the divine pulse in the ancient demon continent. However, in the history of the ancient demon continent, there wasn't a single divine pulse warrior or divine pulse demon god. This was enough to prove the scarcity of the divine pulse. Once it was exposed, it would bring disaster to Chu Fengmian. Anyway, the spiritual spring was here and couldn't run away. If Chu Fengmian needed a large amount of spirit stones, he could come back to draw more. My cave abode should be this one. There were hundreds of cave abodes of various sizes surrounding Heart Scar Peak. Most of these cave dwellings had already been set up with restrictions. It seemed like they already had owners. The cave abode indicated by Chu Fengmian's jade talisman was on the upper level of Heart Scar Peak. Logically speaking, the closer one was to the peak, the richer the spiritual energy and the more people would fight for it. However, Heart Scar Peak was the exact opposite. Most of the warriors and demon gods would take the initiative to choose the cave abodes near the foot of the mountain. Although the cave abodes near the foot of the mountain had less spiritual energy, they would be less affected by the heart demon. It was said that the heart demon could appear at any time while cultivating on the mountain. Once one was affected by the heart demon during cultivation, it could be fatal. Another newcomer? Seeing Chu Fengmian's arrival, many warriors and demon gods in the cave abodes extended their spiritual senses to observe Chu Fengmian. Interesting. I heard that this person rejected young Master Mu's invitation? Someone dares to reject young Master Mu's invitation? Seems like another genius from some small place. He thinks he's invincible and is so arrogant. It's all right. Many warriors and demon gods in Heart Scar Peak have submitted to young Master Mu. He'll suffer. Many of the onlookers looked at Chu Fengmian with sneers. News sure travels fast. Chu Fengmian heard the discussions and smiled casually. Young Master Mu might be a figure in the eyes of others, but to Chu Fengmian, anyone who dared to provoke Chu Fengmian was dead meat. Boom! Chu Fengmian moved and stepped into his cave abode. At the same time, he set up restrictions and sealed the entire cave abode. Chapter 1245. Once inside, there was a whole new world inside. From the mountain peak, he could see that each cave residence only had a single door. However, once he entered, he would arrive at a separate small world. The hundreds of caves on Heart Scar Mountain were at least hundreds of small worlds, truly worthy of the sacred dragon's secret realm. Such extravagance! Chu Fengmian couldn't help but sigh. With his current strength, it was actually a piece of cake for him to create a minor world like this. However, there were so many caves in the sacred dragon's secret realm. There were tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of them. Especially in Heart Scar Peak, most of them were newcomers who had yet to participate in the assessment. Even the 7 great sects of the 9 domains combined wouldn't be able to do this. There was a stream inside each cave. It wasn't water that flowed through the stream, but pure spirit energy that condensed into spirit liquid. It seemed to be drawn from the spirit spring. This was where the rich spirit energy came from. Let's see what the heart demon of Heart Scar Peak is. Chu Fengmian didn't mind the legendary heart demon of Heart Scar Peak. Chu Fengmian observed the surroundings and sat next to the stream. He closed his eyes and began to slowly absorb the spirit energy. The spirit energy of Heart Scar Peak was extremely pure. If it was directly condensed, it wouldn't be inferior to a king spirit stone. With a bit of refinement, it would turn into a king spirit stone. A large amount of spirit energy was devoured by Chu Fengmian's body. 5 minutes passed by. The moment Chu Fengmian started to cultivate, a black shadow slowly appeared in his mind. The appearance of this shadow caused a ripple in Chu Fengmian's mind. It was as if a suppressed heart demon was about to break out of his body. This is a heart demon? A heart demon left behind by a 9 tribulation emperor? Chu Fengmian looked over and saw that the shadow was a man. Just by looking at his back, it was enough to see how peerless and invincible this person was. None of the existences that could reach 9 tribulation true emperor were weak. They were all supreme geniuses, 1 in 100 million. However, looking at the black figure now, Chu Fengmian couldn't feel his peerless invincibility. Instead, it was a kind of resentment. This resentment turned into an inner demon after death. The moment Chu Fengmian began to cultivate and gather spiritual energy, the heart demon would appear to stop him. In the field of cultivation, the most taboo was the appearance of inner demons. Inner demons were enough to cause a cultivator's cultivation to go berserk. Even an Emperor Realm Master would be greatly affected by inner demons. Sure enough, the moment Chu Fengmian began to cultivate, the heart demon appeared and began to shake Chu Fengmian's mind. However, Chu Fengmian's mind was extremely tenacious. Having lived 2 lives, his mind was practically unshakable. Stop pretending. Show yourself. Chu Fengmian snorted coldly and suddenly grabbed it. The black shadow didn't expect Chu Fengmian to be unaffected. It hurriedly tried to retreat. But how could he leave in front of Chu Fengmian? Chu Fengmian suddenly attacked. The black shadow was torn apart by Chu Fengmian. From the black shadow, the appearance of a man slowly appeared. Chu Fengmian knew that this was the true appearance of the heart demon. It was just a black shadow, a disguise. The heart demon has become a king? When Chu Fengmian saw the man, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. The heart demon was born in the mind of every human and every demon god. It could be said that every human had a heart demon. However, the existence of the heart demon had always been an illusory existence. Not many people had really come into contact with it. Of course, there were many martial arts techniques in the world that used the heart demon as a means of attack. For example, the Great Heart Demon technique that Chu Fengmian had seen before was one of them. However, it was only one of the weakest means to control the heart demon. It only triggered the heart demon of a demon god. For a person with a mind like Chu Fengmian, such a means was simply meaningless. Chu Fengmian could kill his own heart demon at any time. Outside of triggering the heart demon, the most powerful way to do so was to remove it from the body and refine it into a heart demon king. Once a heart demon king appeared, it could control the heart demon of millions. In the past, there was a heart demon true emperor in the 9 realms who used the heart demon Tao to become an emperor. The moment he became an emperor, he removed the heart demon from his body and refined it into a heart demon king. Many Emperor Gu didn't dare to oppose him due to the influence of the heart demon king. After all, if the heart demon king were to trigger the heart demon king's heart demon at a critical moment, it would lead to death. Later on, the heart demon true emperor provoked the sword Tao Lord and wanted to use the heart demon to control the sword Tao Lord, the number 1 of the 9 realms. Afterwards, the Lord of the Sword Tao had slain him. The Lord of the Sword Tao had also captured and suppressed the Lord of the Heart Demon before destroying it. Back then, Chu Fengmian had seen the Heart Demon King with his own eyes. That's how he learned about the Heart Demon King. This young man was none other than a Heart Demon King. It was no wonder why he could turn Heart Scar Peak upside down. Even if he didn't do anything, he could still trigger the Heart Demon King's Heart Demon King. Chu Fengmian could even feel the inner demons in his body stirring. However, under Chu Fengmian's tenacious mind, they were firmly suppressed, unable to affect him at all. However, although they were both inner demon kings, this young man was completely different from the inner demon kings Chu Fengmian had seen before. This Heart Demon King was created by the Heart Demon True Emperor using his own Heart Demon secret art. On the other hand, this Heart Demon King didn't have a master. In other words, he was born on his own. Looks like the 9 Tribulation True Emperor was close to the celestial being level. That's why the Heart Demon King was born. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but sigh. Such a character was indeed close to transcending the realm of cultivators. The Heart Demon King left behind was enough to affect the Heart Scar Peak for tens of thousands of years. As long as this Heart Demon King wasn't eliminated, it would continue to affect Heart Scar Peak. It was no wonder that the experts in the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension did not intend to provoke a mental demon king. After all, even if several ancient emperors joined forces to suppress the mental demon king, both sides would suffer great losses. Chapter 1246. If he wanted to suppress the king of the inner demons, he would trigger the retaliation of the king of the inner demons. At that time, even if it was the ancient emperor, it wouldn't be a problem. Suppressing a Heart Devil King was a lose-lose situation for both sides. Furthermore, the king of mental demons only affected Heart Scar Peak. That's why it was delayed. Of course, this might not be a problem for others, but it was a good thing for Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian had heard that Heart Demon True Emperor was only a minor character when he first became an emperor. It was indeed rare for an emperor to become an emperor with a Heart Devil. Later on, Heart Demon True Emperor became famous because he fought against Emperor Gu right after becoming a 1 Tribulation True Emperor. The gap between a 1 Tribulation True Emperor and Emperor Gu was unimaginable. It was like the difference between an ant and a true dragon. Heart Demon True Emperor used his Heart Devil King to kill Emperor Gu. From then on, he became famous and no one dared to provoke him. Even Emperor Gu had to back down before him. In the end, he fell into the hands of the Sword Tao Lord and was destroyed. The Emperor's strongest move was his creation, the King of the Inner Demons. When facing an enemy, a cultivator must be fully focused. This was when their resistance to Heart Devils was at its weakest. Even Emperor Gu wouldn't be able to stop this Heart Devil King. It wasn't any weaker than Heart Demon True Emperors back then. If Chu Fengmian could control it, it would be a great trump card that could catch his enemies off guard. Suppress. Thinking of this, Chu Fengmian didn't hesitate to divide his spiritual energy and suppress the king of the inner demons. Since Chu Fengmian had encountered the king of the inner demons, it was a good opportunity for Chu Fengmian to subdue him. Buzz 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 buzz. Feeling the suppression of the spiritual energy, the Heart Demon King revealed an incomparably angry expression. As a Heart Devil King, it didn't have a mind of its own, but it had developed instincts. Seeing that Chu Fengmian was about to suppress it, it became furious and unleashed its terrifying Heart Devil power. Under the power of the inner demons, Even many ancient emperors couldn't suppress the inner demons within their bodies. Chu Fengmian's mind was in a state of chaos. Even some of his inner desires were beginning to stir. He couldn't wait to kill someone and turn them upside down. Anger, greed, fear, lust. Countless emotions appeared in Chu Fengmian's mind, wanting to control him and turn him into a puppet of the heart devil. Throughout history, many peerless experts did not die at the hands of others. Instead, they were controlled by their own inner demons and turned into puppets of their inner demons. Chu Fengmian could feel that these countless emotions were trying to drown him and take control of his consciousness. You want to affect me with a mere inner demon? I've experienced death, what's there to be afraid of? Chu Fengmian shouted coldly. His expression instantly calmed down. His mind was as firm as a rock. Even the myriad of emotions couldn't affect him. In an instant, Chu Fengmian attacked again. Countless dragon claws aimed at the Heart Devil King and suppressed it. The Heart Devil King's most powerful ability was its strange Heart Devil. His strength wasn't very strong. Chu Fengmian wasn't affected by the Heart Devil at all. The Heart Devil King didn't expect this. Instead, Chu Fengmian's counterattack began to suppress the Heart Devil King. Under this suppression, the Heart Devil King kept roaring. Countless phantoms appeared around Chu Fengmian. These phantoms looked exactly like Chu Fengmian. They were the heart devils that Chu Fengmian had been suppressing all this time. Under the instigation of the Heart Devil King, these heart devils were all awakened and attacked Chu Fengmian. Sword. Chu Fengmian unsheathed his sword without batting an eyelid. With a single slash, the heart devils that had condensed were all killed. One slash to kill the heart devil. Any heart devil couldn't withstand a single blow from Chu Fengmian's Dao heart. Don't struggle anymore. Heart Devil King, submit to me. Chu Fengmian looked at the Heart Devil King with a trace of coldness in his eyes. Suddenly, he attacked again. The power of the natal sword origin erupted. The power of creation enveloped the Heart Devil King. Although the Heart Devil was strange, there was no existence in the world that couldn't be destroyed by creation. Even if it was a heart devil, it had to be destroyed. Enveloped by the power of creation, the Heart Devil King seemed to have fallen into a state of fear. As the Heart Devil King, he should have been immortal. But now, under the power of creation, he felt destruction. Submit to me and serve me. In the future, I will let you be reborn and become a true body. Chu Fengmian stared at the Heart Devil King and said coldly, "It's life or death." Under Chu Fengmian's scolding, the Heart Devil King seemed to be considering. Then, he slowly withdrew his spiritual power and knelt in front of Chu Fengmian. The Heart Devil King would undoubtedly die if he continued to fight with Chu Fengmian. Now, he chose to submit to Chu Fengmian. Very good. Chu Fengmian looked at the Heart Devil King and relaxed a little. Fortunately, the Heart Devil King had existed for a long time. Now, the Heart Devil King didn't seem like an instinctive heart devil anymore. He had some consciousness, which was why he felt fear and chose to submit. This would save Chu Fengmian a lot of trouble by forcibly subduing him. However, Chu Fengmian's firm Dao heart was the nemesis of all heart devils. If the Heart Devil King continued to fight with Chu Fengmian, he would be subdued sooner or later. From now on, you will follow me and serve me. You will cut through all obstacles. In the future, I will grant you a true body. Chu Fengmian looked at the Heart Devil King and said majestically. His words carried enormous weight. The Heart Devil King was actually an illusion. All things could become gods. If the Heart Devil King was strong enough, he would be able to condense a true body. At that time, he would no longer be a heart devil. Instead, he would be no different from a martial artist or a monster god. When the Heart Devil King heard Chu Fengmian's words, he seemed to be looking forward to it. He nodded at Chu Fengmian and moved into Chu Fengmian's body. The Heart Devil King was lodging in Chu Fengmian's body. As long as Chu Fengmian gave the order, he would be able to help him. Chapter 1247. What a great opportunity! 1. Chu Fengmian was overjoyed to have subdued the king of the inner demon. He had just arrived at the sacred dragon mystery domain and had already encountered such an opportunity. With the help of the king of the inner demon, Chu Fengmian's strength would improve further. However, only Chu Fengmian could obtain such an opportunity. Many experts in the sacred dragon mystery domain knew about the existence of the king of the inner demon on Heart Scar Peak. However, even if they knew, they had no intention of subduing the king of the inner demon. Even the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu might not be able to escape unscathed from the king of the inner demon. Especially for the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu, breaking through to the diviner realm was his ultimate goal. The path to the diviner realm was thousands of times more difficult than stepping into the sovereign realm. Once the influence of the inner demon was left, there was a chance that one would be doomed eternally after breaking through to the diviner realm. Therefore, even a 9 tribulation ancient emperor would not take the initiative to find trouble with the king of the inner demon. Only Chu Fengmian had the confidence to subdue the king of the inner demon with ease. His Tao heart was invincible, and he was the nemesis of the king of the inner demon. Kid, get out here. While Chu Fengmian was still rejoicing over having subdued the king of the inner demons, the earth quaked and the mountains swayed. His expression changed. Someone had set up a restriction in front of Chu Fengmian's cave abode. Shouts and curses could be heard from the outside. Courting death. A murderous look flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. It seemed that someone had really come to court death today. Chu Fengmian's figure moved and slowly disappeared from the cave abode. There were already 7 or 8 warriors standing outside. These warriors looked like this batch of newcomers, but they all had jade talismans engraved with the word Mu hanging on their chests. They're from the Emperor Mu Association. Seeing the word Mu on their clothes, many onlookers retreated, not daring to provoke them. Emperor Mu Association? What's their background? Some of the newcomers were puzzled. Young Master Mu, you don't know? One of the newcomers beside him couldn't help but ask. Young Master Mu? Perhaps he was not familiar with Emperor Mu, but he had heard of young Master Mu's name before. Among this batch of newcomers, there weren't many who hadn't heard of young Master Mu's name. After all, young Master Mu was a genius from a 4th-class continent. Whether it was his background or his strength, young Master Mu was already standing at the peak of this batch of newcomers. The Emperor Mu Association is the force established by young Master Mu. More than 50% of this batch of newcomers have chosen to submit to young Master Mu. The warrior explained while looking in Chu Fengmian's direction. This kid actually provoked the Emperor Mu Association. This is going to be troublesome. I heard that this kid rejected young Master Mu's personal invitation. Another martial artist sneered at the side. In front of his chest, there was also a jade talisman with the word Mu carved on it. It was obvious that this person had also joined Emperor Mu's society. Who do you think young Master Mu is? Even though he personally tried to recruit him, this brat didn't give him any face. How arrogant! But this is the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane. Aren't there rules? Private fights are not allowed. The martialist who had asked the question at the beginning spoke hesitantly. Rules? Will these rules have any effect on young Master Mu? Young Master Mu's background is extraordinary. I heard that one of his brothers is already a core disciple of the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane. Even many elders have to be courteous to young Master Mu. These rules are nothing. The man from the Emperor Mu Association spoke disdainfully. Look at the consequences of going against young Master Mu. Senior brother Xia, that kid still hasn't come out. Standing outside Chu Fengmian's cave abode, several martial artists were working together to attack the restrictions of Chu Fengmian's cave abode. Under the repeated attacks, the cave abode kept shaking. Humph, I thought that the one who dared to go against young Master Mu was some big shot. Turns out he's just a coward. The man who was called Senior Brother Xia spoke with a cold look in his eyes. Young Master Mu said to teach this person a lesson. Trying to hide inside? Let's shatter all the restrictions and see how long he can hide. Yes. Hearing Senior Brother Xia's words, the other warriors from the Emperor Mu Association attacked together again. They gathered their spiritual energy and attacked Chu Fengmian's cave abode. But this time, before they could attack, a huge war dragon claw appeared in the air. The claw suddenly fell, and the warriors who had just gathered their spiritual energy to attack Chu Fengmian's cave abode were sent flying. I'd like to see who dares to attack my cave abode. At the same time, a figure slowly appeared. He casually glanced at the surrounding practitioners and spoke with disdain. Get lost. Chu Fengmian's words changed the color of the crowd. Countless warriors looked at Chu Fengmian in disbelief. He was a member of the Emperor Mu Association. In the newcomer territory, who dared to provoke the Emperor Mu Association? Although the Emperor Mu Association had just been established, many official disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Plane did not dare to provoke them. Senior Brother Xia was even considered a small leader. Chu Fengmian's words to tell them all to get lost was indeed extremely arrogant. What a fierce brat! He's just an immortal realm brat. How dare he clash with the Emperor Mu Association? Isn't he courting death? A warrior from the Emperor Mu Association said disdainfully. How arrogant! No newcomer has ever dared to speak to our Emperor Mu Association like that. Senior Brother Xia and the others questioned Chu Fengmian after hearing his words. A cold glint flashed across their eyes. You're Chu Fengmian? Why ask when you already know the answer? Chu Fengmian said casually. He could tell at a glance that these people were recruited by young Master Mu to cause trouble for Chu Fengmian. Of course, Chu Fengmian would not be nice to such a group of people. They were just a few quasi-emperors. These people were not even Luya. The strongest among them, Senior Brother Xia, had only gathered 5 laws of heaven and earth. People like ants were not worthy of Chu Fengmian's attention. After Chu Fengmian finished speaking, his mind moved. A wave of spiritual energy began to gather behind Chu Fengmian. Just when everyone thought that Chu Fengmian was about to attack, this wave of spiritual energy suddenly transformed into a throne. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and looked down at Senior Brother Xia and the others. It seemed that he did not care about them at all. Arrogant. Too arrogant. Chapter 1248. Conjuring a throne at this time was a blatant indication that Chu Fengmian did not take the Emperor Mu Association seriously at all. Although the Emperor Mu Association was not very powerful in the newcomer's land, many people would rather die than join. That was because the Emperor Mu Association was too overbearing, seizing cave abodes and snatching resources. All the cave abodes in Enlightenment Peak were now occupied by the Emperor Mu Association. Such an action naturally caused many people to be dissatisfied. However, when they thought of young Master Mu, they could only suppress their dissatisfaction and did not dare to let it out. However, many people still looked at Chu Fengmian worriedly. After all, the Emperor Mu Association's arrogance was not without support, not just because of young Master Mu's background. The strength of the Emperor Mu Association was also their capital to be arrogant. Senior Brother Xia's strength alone was one of the best among this batch of newcomers. You few, are you young Master Mu's men? How dare a few pieces of trash disturb my cave abode? Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and looked down at Senior Brother Xia and the rest as he spoke calmly. Looks like you're all tired of living. Chu Fengmian, you're about to die and you still want to be arrogant? A disciple of the Emperor Mu Association could not help but shout angrily when he heard Chu Fengmian's words. Who do you think you are to go against the Emperor Mu Association? In this batch of newcomers' land, anyone who dares to go against the Emperor Mu Association will die. Is that so? I can kill you with that sentence, but I won't kill you since this is the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. Chu Fengmian suddenly opened his eyes and locked his gaze on that disciple. Just his gaze alone was enough to cause one to tremble in fear. Kneel down. Suddenly, an illusory figure of a battle dragon appeared behind the throne. The massive dragon aura enveloped the area. Before this dragon aura, the face of the disciple of the Union of Monarch Mu, who had spoken earlier, changed, and his heart was filled with terror. His legs turned to jelly, and he knelt in front of the throne. What technique is this? Many martialists were still gasping in amazement at the might of the war dragon projection. When they came back to their senses, the arrogant association of Emperor Mu's disciple was kneeling before Chu Fengmian. That's Ming Xing. I know him. He's a genius from the Ming clan of the Five Elements continent. He was actually unable to resist the might of the dragon and knelt down? Countless eyes in the crowd were filled with shock. Everyone's hearts were in a state of shock. At that instant, Chu Fengmian remained seated on his throne. His dragon might alone was enough to suppress a half-monarch realm genius without making a move. It should be known that suppressing a quasi-emperor was even harder than killing a quasi-emperor. This was especially so for the quasi-emperors who had come to the sacred dragon mystery realm. Which one of them was weak? They were all peerless geniuses from various continents, and each of them had the ability to fight above their level. But now, he was suppressed so easily in front of Chu Fengmian. Suppressed by the dragon might, Ming Xing was forced to kneel on the ground. His face was flushed red with anger. To suppress him like this, to kill him, and to make him suffer even more pain, this sort of humiliation was something that he had never experienced before. I'm going to kill you! Ming Xing suddenly roared. With a punch, he wanted to tear apart the dragon might and stand up. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but look askance at this scene. Indeed, those who could come to the sacred dragon mystery realm were all rare geniuses. Even a first tribulation true emperor would be suppressed by this draconic aura, but Ming Xing was still able to shake it a little. Unfortunately, he was only able to shake it a little at most. Still want to resist? Kneel properly. Chu Fengmian remained seated on his throne, but the shadow of the war dragon behind him became more and more solid. In an instant, the dragon might that enveloped the area became 10 times stronger. Ming Xing, who wanted to resist a moment ago, was once again suppressed by the dragon might. He knelt in front of the throne, unable to turn around. Chu Fengmian, you're too arrogant! Senior brother Xia shouted angrily. He couldn't hold back anymore. Chu Fengmian had forced Ming Xing to kneel in front of them. This was a slap to the face of Imperial Union Mu. At the same time, senior brother Xia was also a little surprised by Chu Fengmian's strength. In his opinion, Chu Fengmian should be just a little guy in the immortal realm. He wasn't a big shot at all. Any one of them could easily defeat Chu Fengmian. But now, Chu Fengmian's strength was beyond his imagination. Let's attack together and suppress this brat. After senior brother Xia finished speaking, he took the lead and punched. In an instant, his fist turned into a gust of wind that filled the sky. With one punch, there were tens of thousands of gusts of wind. Senior brother Xia's martial Dao was close to the peak. It was a level that many Emperor Realm Masters had not reached. Once these geniuses from the Saint Dragon mysterious domain stepped into the Emperor Realm, their strength would not be inferior to a second or 3 tribulation true Emperor. The peak of martial Dao. As expected of senior brother Xia. Many of the Imperial Union Mu's disciples exclaimed. Then, they looked at Chu Fengmian with sneers. How dare he go against young Master Mu? He's dead meat today. With young Master Mu's status, even if we kill him, the sacred dragon's secret realm won't punish young Master Mu. Young Master Mu is merciful today. He's not going to kill him, but he's going to punish him. Suppress him and make him kneel. Another Imperial Union Mu's disciple sneered. In an instant, 7 or 8 Imperial Union Mu's disciples attacked Chu Fengmian together with senior brother Xia. You're courting death. Chu Fengmian only shook his head when he saw the attacks. When the gust of wind from the gust of wind blasted toward him, he finally moved from his throne. Chu Fengmian slowly raised his hand and brought it down. Rumble! Above Chu Fengmian's head, a battle dragon claw condensed and descended from the sky, abruptly descending. The battle dragon claw condensed at an extremely fast speed. Many people were unable to clearly see when the battle dragon claw had appeared. Rumble! After the initial shock, everyone felt a kind of fear in their hearts. The battle dragon claw swept through everything. The gust of wind from the gust of wind was shattered in front of the battle dragon claw. The combined strength of countless Imperial Union Mu's disciples was not worth mentioning in front of the battle dragon claw. They were easily shattered. Suppress! Chu Fengmian casually shouted the word suppress. Chapter 1249. All of this happened in an instant. The arrogant disciples of the Society of Monarch Mu were easily defeated by Chu Fengmian in the blink of an eye. They were even suppressed and forced to kneel in front of the throne. As for Chu Fengmian, he sat on his throne with a calm expression on his face. It was as if, to Chu Fengmian, this was merely a trivial matter that he had done in passing. It was simply not worth mentioning. It did not even bring him any joy. This is too terrifying. Is he still human? Many people in the crowd stared at Chu Fengmian with their eyes wide open, not knowing what to say. Martial artists and demon immortals from the Holy Dragon mystic realm were all exceptional geniuses. They were even the top geniuses of a continent. However, even they were extremely shocked when they saw Chu Fengmian make a move. Just like that, Chu Fengmian sat on his throne. From the beginning of the battle until the end, Chu Fengmian had never left his throne. With a wave of his hand, the disciples of the Society of Monarch Mu who were besieging Chu Fengmian were easily defeated and forced to kneel in front of Chu Fengmian. Even senior brother Xia was in the same situation. He didn't have any strength to fight back. How could an immortal realm expert do such a thing? This person's strength is unfathomable. He might be able to exchange blows with young Master Mu. How is that possible? Young Master Mu has an innate divine body and has even condensed more than 20 worldly laws. This person is considered a monster. How can he compete with young Master Mu? Many disciples said in disbelief. After all, young Master Mu was from the Tianlu continent, a fourth-class continent. The Mu family was one of the 3 great families of the Tianlu continent. Young Master Mu had an innate divine body and was a genius of the Mu family. He had swept through all the newcomers in the Holy Dragon mystic realm. No one could compete with him. There were even rumors that none of the newcomers in this batch could withstand a single attack from young Master Mu. Brat, let us go. Do you know that we have young Master Mu behind us? Senior brother Xiao was forced to kneel on the ground by the dragon's might. He stared at Chu Fengmian with a gaze that seemed to be on fire. He could not wait to tear Chu Fengmian into pieces. Is that so? So what if he's young Master Mu? Even if he comes today, I will still make him kneel here. Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and spoke casually. His words caused an uproar. Young Master Mu was here. He wanted young Master Mu to kneel here as well. Chu Fengmian's words were no longer arrogant, but courting death. Given young Master Mu's personality, even if they were in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm and had the rules of the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm, young Master Mu would still kill Chu Fengmian. You don't know what's good for you. Young Master Mu is not someone you can insult. At this moment, a furious roar could be heard as a figure appeared. This figure slowly appeared. Chu Fengmian's eyes revealed a somewhat playful smile. This was indeed a familiar face. This figure was none other than the demon god from the Tiger tribe who had been by young Master Mu's side. It's Hu Zhuang, young Master Mu's trusted aide. Seeing the appearance of the demon god of the Tiger tribe, the faces of many of the surrounding martial artists changed as they retreated. With the appearance of this Hu Zhuang, things would become even more troublesome. When the disciples of the Emperor Mu Association saw Hu Zhuang appear, they were overjoyed and started shouting loudly. Senior brother Hu, quickly save us. A bunch of trash, shut up. Hu Zhuang's eyes revealed some impatience when he heard this. He glanced at them coldly and snorted. A bunch of trash, you can't even do what young Master Mu asked you to do. Yes, it's our fault. Senior Brother Xia and the rest did not dare to retort when they heard Hu Zhuang's reprimand. Senior Brother Xia was considered someone with some strength in the newcomer's territory. However, Hu Zhuang was young Master Mu's trusted aide and was deeply trusted by young Master Mu. The difference in status between them was like heaven and earth. Brat, were you the one who spoke nonsense just now? Hu Zhuang ignored Senior Brother Xia and the rest. Instead, he glared at Chu Fengmian with murderous intent. Young Master Mu let you off once in the cave-dwelling hall. I didn't expect you to not cherish it and still dare to speak nonsense? Let me off once? If young Master Mu had dared to attack in the cave-dwelling hall, I would have made him kneel there too. Seeing Hu Zhuang appear, Chu Fengmian did not look nervous at all. Instead, he revealed a playful smile. Young Master Mu? Mu family? Who do you think you are? If young Master Mu dares to provoke me, I will kill young Master Mu. If Mu family dares to provoke me, I will destroy Mu family. Chu Fengmian sat on the throne and said calmly. Especially when he said that he would kill young Master Mu and destroy Mu family, Chu Fengmian's tone was calm. It was as if he was doing something that was natural. Lunatic, this brat is definitely a lunatic. When the crowd heard Chu Fengmian's words, their eyes widened. They looked at Chu Fengmian as if they were looking at a lunatic. Kill young Master Mu and destroy Mu family. Even the elders of the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension did not dare to say such words. Especially the Mu family, one of the three great families of the Tianlu continent. It could be said that even the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimension had to give some face to the Mu family. No one had ever dared to say such words. Brat, you're courting death. Based on your words, even if you die 10,000 times, I won't forgive your sins. When Hu Zhuang heard Chu Fengmian's words, his murderous intent exploded. I'll kill you right now and give your head to young Master Mu. Take my head? You're not worthy. Disdain flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. Since you're here, you should kneel down too. As he spoke, the battle dragon claw appeared in the air where Chu Fengmian was standing. Facing Hu Zhuang, the battle dragon claw swept up a huge force and came crashing down. Senior Brother Hu, watch out! Senior Brother Xia and the others hurriedly shouted. They knew the power of the battle dragon claw. Dragon clan bloodline? So what? Hu Zhuang sneered. His body suddenly began to change. Strands of hair began to grow on Hu Zhuang's body. His body suddenly became several times bigger. Just the strength of his body was several times stronger than before. The strangest thing was his pair of golden eyes. Golden-eyed tiger eyes? This person is the royal family of the golden-eyed tiger clan. Seeing the golden-eyed tiger eyes, some of the demon gods could not help but exclaim. Chapter 1250. The royal family of the golden-eyed tiger tribe was willing to serve young Master Mu? Many demon gods muttered to themselves in disbelief when they saw Hu Zhuang's golden eyes. On the phone. This was the royal family of countless demon beast tribes, and Hu Zhuang was the royal family of the golden-eyed tiger tribe. But now, he was willing to serve young Master Mu as his master and work for him. But it was obvious that young Master Mu was a peerless genius. Even Hu Zhuang was willing to serve him. That brat is in trouble now. Many people turned to look at Chu Fengmian with worry in their eyes. The golden-eyed tiger tribe had a noble bloodline. Their strength was superior to other demon gods of the same level. Their strongest attribute was their golden eyes. These golden eyes were said to be able to confuse the minds of demon gods. Those who were stared at by these golden eyes would be trapped in an illusion for a short time. In a battle at the quasi-emperor level, being trapped in an illusion for less than a second was enough to be fatal. Die, brat! Hu Zhuang shouted coldly. Suddenly, the golden eyes in his eyes became even more demonic. Just looking at the golden eyes from the corner of one's eyes would make one fall into an illusion. Chu Fengmian's eyes couldn't help but look over. Oh no, this brat is not prepared at all. Seeing this, some demon gods couldn't help but shake their heads. The best way to deal with the golden-eyed tiger tribe was to avoid looking at their golden eyes and deliberately avoid them. 4 demon gods who had reached the quasi-emperor level, they could fight even with their eyes closed. But Chu Fengmian obviously had no experience in dealing with the golden-eyed tiger tribe. Looking at the golden eyes like this was tantamount to suicide. The moment Chu Fengmian looked at the golden eyes, the war dragon claws in the air seemed to have stopped. Seeing this, Hu Zhuang's lips curled into a cruel smile. His figure flashed and rushed in the direction of Chu Fengmian. 2 tiger claws were pointed at Chu Fengmian's chest. This was not only to teach Chu Fengmian a lesson, but also to use this opportunity to kill him. The 2 tiger claws were already close to Chu Fengmian's chest. At this moment, Hu Zhuang's lips were already curled into a smile. At this time, even if Chu Fengmian suddenly woke up, it would be meaningless. What's more, Chu Fengmian didn't look flustered at all. He was still so calm, as if he hadn't noticed at all. And here I was wondering who he was. How dare such a piece of trash make an enemy of young Master Mu? Hu Zhuang's lips curled into a disdainful smile. Just as he opened his mouth, he saw a playful smile appear on Chu Fengmian's face. The moment he saw that smile, Hu Zhuangxin sensed a hint of danger. The power of his 2 tiger claws burst forth in an instant, piercing straight toward Chu Fengmian's chest. Break! Suddenly, just as the 2 tiger claws were about to reach Chu Fengmian's chest, Chu Fengmian suddenly moved. Chu Fengmian raised his hand and slowly pointed a finger at Hu Zhuang. With a point of his finger, the 2 tiger claws started to bend as if they were being subjected to an enormous force. It was merely a finger that appeared to be very simple. Yet, no one was able to comprehend its profoundness. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Hu Zhuang's tiger claws shattered bit by bit. This sudden turn of events was beyond anyone's expectations. Originally, the crowd thought that Chu Fengmian was already doomed. Who would have thought that Chu Fengmian would awaken at this critical moment and shatter both of Hu Zhuang's tiger claws with just a simple point of his finger? This sudden unforeseen event caused many of the surrounding crowd to be unable to react in time. However, a miserable shriek had already sounded in the air. Hu Zhuang let out a miserable scream. His tiger claws had been shattered by Chu Fengmian, causing his entire body to tremble. For the Tiger Clan, this pair of tiger claws was equivalent to a martial artist's spiritual weapon. They were extraordinarily sturdy and comparable to a heavenly spiritual weapon. However, they were directly shattered by Chu Fengmian's finger. How could you not be controlled by King Tong? Hu Zhuang howled as he looked at Chu Fengmian. King Tong was the strongest technique of the golden-eyed tiger clan. However, Chu Fengmian wasn't under its control at all. From the beginning, Chu Fengmian didn't put Hu Zhuang in his eyes. Therefore, he slowly made his move at the last moment. King Tong? You want to shake my Tao heart with some mere illusory techniques? Chu Fengmian couldn't help but laugh when he heard Hu Zhuang's words. The illusory realm condensed by the king of the mental demon was thousands of times stronger than King Tong. Even the king of the mental demon couldn't do anything to Chu Fengmian, let alone King Tong. I won't kill you today. I'll cripple your claws as punishment. You should also kneel and reflect on your actions. Chu Fengmian couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Hu Zhuang. To Chu Fengmian, Hu Zhuang was an ant-like figure. Normally, he didn't put him in his eyes at all. Chu Fengmian was still a little interested in young Master Mu. As for Hu Zhuang, Chu Fengmian didn't even have the qualifications to talk nonsense with him. Chu Fengmian's mind moved. A terrifying dragons might also shrouded Hu Zhuang's body under the disbelieving gazes of the crowd. Hu Zhuang also bent his knees and knelt before Chu Fengmian's throne. Even Hu Zhuang isn't a match for this person? Looking at Chu Fengmian, the crowd felt a chill in their hearts. They originally thought that Chu Fengmian was just a guy who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. But now, it seemed that although Chu Fengmian was arrogant, he had the right to be arrogant. Other than young Master Mu, there was probably no one in this batch of newcomers who could compete with Chu Fengmian. Other than young Master Mu, there's also Chu Fengmian. Gradually, Chu Fengmian's reputation began to spread in the sacred dragon mystery domain. Chu Fengmian couldn't be bothered with all this. Chu Fengmian only acted now to warn young Master Mu and the others that Chu Fengmian was not to be trifled with. Before the crowd could recover from their shock, Chu Fengmian's throne had already disappeared. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's figure also disappeared from the crowd's sight. The crowd only dispersed after a long time. However, no one else came to provoke Chu Fengmian in front of his door. Even the people from Emperor Mu's association seemed to have chosen to suffer in silence and didn't come to find trouble with Chu Fengmian. However, one day later, an old man came and took away the few people who were kneeling in front of Chu Fengmian's cave abode. Chu Fengmian had no intention of stopping them. To him, the goal was enough. Chu Fengmian made these people kneel in front of his cave abode as an example to others. Chapter 1251. 3 days passed. Book Network Vatem. Chu Fengmian stayed in his cave abode the entire time and never took a step out. Many newcomers who came to the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm were trying to build connections in these 3 days. It was said that the test of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm was not a one-on-one battle, but could be teamed up. Becoming a member of a force had a much higher chance of passing the test than fighting alone. Because of this, many warriors were willing to join Emperor Mu's association. However, Chu Fengmian did not need to care about this. No matter what he did, he alone was enough. If others came, they would only be a hindrance to Chu Fengmian. During these 3 days, Chu Fengmian stayed in his cave abode in seclusion to study the King of the Inner Demon. The Tao of the Inner Demon was enough to be called the most special martial Tao in all the heavens. Chu Fengmian had an invincible Tao heart and was not afraid of the Tao of the Inner Demon. However, it did not mean that Chu Fengmian understood the Tao of the Inner Demon. On the contrary, the knowledge obtained from the King of the Inner Demon was much more than Chu Fengmian imagined. The Tao of the Inner Demon is indeed mysterious. Chu Fengmian's face was somewhat emotional. He suddenly stood up and waved his hand. A black storm immediately swept over in front of Chu Fengmian. The black storm was instantly filled with ghostly wails and howls as demons danced wildly. If warriors and demon gods with weak Tao hearts were to fall into it, they would probably be scared out of their wit. This move was the inner demon storm that Chu Fengmian had recently comprehended from the King of the Inner Demon. Once touched by this storm, it was enough to trigger the inner demon of a warrior and demon god. Even with Chu Fengmian's firm Tao heart, once touched, he would feel something strange in his body and mind. Not to mention other warriors and even many true emperors would be greatly affected. With this move, even if I don't use my trump cards, it should be enough to fight young Master Mu. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He had many trump cards that he could not reveal before Chu Fengmian figured out the situation inside the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. He had only revealed his Battle Dragon bloodline and Progenitor Tianlong bloodline. It would be difficult for Chu Fengmian to defeat young Master Mu with just these 2 points. But now, with the addition of the inner demon storm, Chu Fengmian was confident that he could contend with young Master Mu. Deng deng deng! The moment Chu Fengmian slowly got up, the sound of a bell came from outside the cave. Chu Fengmian knew that this was the bell for the newcomers to gather in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. Is the day of the assessment finally here? Chu Fengmian slowly rose to his feet, dispelling all of the demonic will around him. At the same time, he allowed the King of the Inner Demons to return to his body. It seemed that Chu Fengmian was still as calm as ever. He moved his body and stepped into the cave residence. Chu Fengmian was not the only one. Many warriors and Yao gods on Heart Scar Peak also heard the bell and woke up from their cave abode. he flew towards a square on Enlightenment Mountain. Enlightenment Peak was located in the heart of the newcomer's cave abode. At the top of the mountain there was a huge square. By the time Chu Fengmian arrived, the square was already filled with people. At a glance, there were enough people to fit 10,000 people. There are actually so many geniuses here. Chu Fengmian swept a glance, and there was some surprise in his eyes. One must know that in the ancient monster continent, if Chu Fengmian was not here, only Lu Ye was qualified to come to the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm to take the assessment. However, there were more than 10,000 newcomers in front of him. Almost every one of them was far stronger than Yi Jianxiu and the others. They were all first-class geniuses. It was no wonder that the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm had so many masters. With so many geniuses, as long as there were enough resources to nurture them, they could become countless masters. At the very least, almost 90% of the countless warriors and Yao gods in front of him had the chance to step into the Emperor Realm. Of course, the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm did not need to focus on nurturing geniuses who could step into the Emperor Realm. Those who could catch the eye of the elders of the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm were at least geniuses who had the chance to step into the level of Emperor Gu. Emperor Masters were nothing in the Holy Dragon Mystery Realm. Look, Chu Fengmian is here. As soon as Chu Fengmian appeared, some of the warriors and Yao gods in the crowd recognized him. Chu Fengmian had defeated Hu Zhuang, senior brother Xia, and the others. It could be said that he had become famous in one battle. Defeating senior brother Xia might not be a big deal, but defeating Hu Zhuang was a little surprising. Among this batch of newcomers, even if Hu Zhuang was not in the top 10, he was at least in the top 20. But now, he was mercilessly defeated by Chu Fengmian. It was even rumored that Chu Fengmian defeated Hu Zhuang with ease. Many warriors and Yao gods snorted at this point, thinking that it was impossible. After all, Hu Zhuang was a member of the royal family of the Golden-Eyed Tiger clan. How could he be defeated so easily? But no matter what, Chu Fengmian was able to defeat Hu Zhuang, which proved his strength. It seems that there is nothing special about him. He is not even a quasi-emperor. He is only in the immortal realm. Was he the one who defeated Hu Zhuang? A warrior looked at Chu Fengmian with a trace of disappointment in his eyes. Chu Fengmian's appearance was somewhat ordinary. Apart from a faint dragon's might that could be felt from Chu Fengmian's body, it was enough to prove that Chu Fengmian had the bloodline of the Dragon Clan. Nothing else could be detected from Chu Fengmian's body. Maybe he was lucky. Hu Zhuang saw that he was only in the immortal realm and underestimated him. Another warrior said in a low voice, "Hu Zhuang was defeated by such a little guy." On a high platform in the square, there were about 7 or 8 warriors and Yao god. The aura of these 7 or 8 warriors and Yao gods was obviously a level higher than the people around them. As a result, no martialists or demon immortals dared to stand around them, giving them a wide berth. That trash is a disgrace to our tiger clan. I can tear such a little guy apart with one claw. A 3-meter-tall brawny man looked at Chu Fengmian and said disdainfully, "Hu Gui, you are still the same as before. Brainless." As soon as the brawny man said that, a thin and weak man beside him sneered. "If this kid was so weak, would he still be standing here today? Sick ghost, you don't have to make sarcastic remarks here. This kid is standing here today because young Master Mu is merciful and did not kill him. Otherwise, with young Master Mu's status, even the elders of the Sacred Dragon's secret territory would not dare to interfere if he wanted to kill this kid." After Hu Gui finished speaking, he looked at a young man sitting on the throne beside him. Chapter 1252. Among the crowd, the most eye-catching thing was a throne that stood high up. "Everyone, please search for the most complete information." The throne was high up and looked down on the crowd. However, none of the cultivators and Yao gods present dared to raise their heads and look at the man on the throne. Everyone's eyes were filled with reverence. That was because the person on the throne was young Master Mu, the absolute king of this batch of newcomers. Although he had yet to join the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm, even the elders of the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm had to be polite to him. That little guy was able to defeat Hu Zhuang. He should be quite capable. Young Master Mu, who was sitting on the throne, spoke slowly after hearing Tiger Ghost's words. However, that person is too arrogant. I can't use him. Arrogant? He's just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Young Master Mu, with your noble status, you're not willing to take such a brat seriously. Tiger Ghost laughed loudly at the side. The way I see it, what arrogance! In a while, I'll go over and teach him a lesson. That brat will naturally submit to young Master Mu obediently. In this Holy Dragon secret realm, with young Master Mu's status, who could possibly compete with young Master Mu? There's no need to teach him a lesson now. After all, he's just a reckless brat. Just kill him. Young Master Mu suddenly looked at Chu Fengmian. The moment his eyes swept over Chu Fengmian, it was as if there was a rainbow-colored light shining on him. It was as if his eyes could see through all concealment. Divine sunglow eyes. As expected of young Master Mu's divine sunglow body. A single ray of light is enough to see through all things. The moment they saw the rainbow-colored light, many people's faces were filled with envy. The rainbow-colored light could see all things. That was the special ability of the divine sunglow body. All concealment could not be hidden from the divine sunglow eyes. Even the cultivator's fortuitous encounters, cultivation methods, spirit weapons, and encounters could not be hidden from the divine sunglow eyes. When facing an enemy, it could even see through the flaws of every move with a single glance. Nothing in the world could escape the divine sunglow eyes. That was the innate divine body, the divine sunglow body. Young Master Mu, how was it? A few warriors standing beside young Master Mu asked curiously. They also wanted to know Chu Fengmian's background. He just has some innate god-beast blood in him, probably the blood of the dragon progenitor, Tianlong. Other than that, he's not worth mentioning. Young Master Mu casually said as he swept his gaze over them. This bloodline is still somewhat useful to me. When the time comes, I'll capture this brat and find an elder of the clan to take his bloodline for my own use. Innate divine beast bloodline. Many martial artists and Yao gods gasped in surprise when they heard this. This could be considered one of the most heaven-defying opportunities. A demon celestial with an innate divine beast bloodline was almost on par with a martialist with an innate divine body. However, when they heard young Master Mu's next sentence, they all burst into laughter. Congratulations in advance, young Master Mu. When they looked at Chu Fengmian, it was as if they were looking at a dead person. So what if he had an innate divine beast bloodline? Only death awaited Chu Fengmian after provoking young Master Mu. Their gazes fell upon Chu Fengmian. He also noticed young Master Mu's presence. Especially after being swept by the seven-colored light, Chu Fengmian couldn't see it clearly. With a single thought, he concealed most of his secret. Chu Fengmian purposely revealed Tianlong's bloodline. Otherwise, even young Master Mu with his sunglow divine physique wouldn't be able to see through Chu Fengmian. The sunglow divine physique was an innate divine body, but Chu Fengmian also had the icefire divine physique. In terms of constitution, Chu Fengmian's was even stronger than young Master Mu's. Only a true emperor with the sunglow divine physique could see through Chu Fengmian's trump card. Young Master Mu was far from enough. This pair of sunglow divine eyes is good stuff. They'll be very useful when comprehending laws, able to point to the origin. Chu Fengmian's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Once Chu Fengmian obtained the divine eyes of multicolored light, it would be of great benefit to him. He had already begun to formulate a plan to kill young Master Mu. Rumble. At this moment, the sky was suddenly torn apart. A huge bronze door suddenly opened in the sky above the square. The bronze gate was so ancient that it had probably existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Countless experts' blood had been burned on it, causing the bronze gate to transform. Like the ancestral dragon's supreme sword, it was transforming from a heavenly-grade spiritual weapon to an extreme-grade immortal weapon. What a treasure! If this bronze door is refined for hundreds of thousands of years, it might really become an apex immortal weapon. With just a glance, Chu Fengmian could tell that the copper gate had the potential to become an extreme-grade immortal weapon. Similar to Chu Fengmian's ancestral dragon supreme sword and titanic crescent godly sword, it had surpassed the heaven grade. However, it was only a possibility. Whether it could succeed or not depended on fate. An old man appeared along with the bronze door. The old man hovered there in midair. Many people were so attracted by the copper door that they didn't even notice how the old man had appeared. He looked like an ordinary old man, but Chu Fengmian felt immense pressure in his heart. The strength of this old man was very strong. Although he was not as strong as the Wind Empress Ancient Emperor, he was likely strong enough to fight against her. I am Cui Tian, the examiner of the newcomer's assessment. The old man slowly opened his mouth and said in the sky. Chu Fengmian didn't react much when he heard the name, but the faces of many people around him changed abruptly. Cui Tian Emperor Gu. It's him. It's said that Cui Tian Emperor Gu is a supreme elder of the sacred dragon's secret realm. To think that an ancient emperor would be the examiner for this test. Many people were stunned when they heard the name Cui Tian Emperor Gu. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. This was an ancient emperor. He would be a big shot in countless continents. They didn't expect that Emperor Gu would be the examiner. Even Chu Fengmian didn't expect the sacred dragon's secret realm to be so generous. It was just a newcomer's assessment, but Emperor Gu was the examiner. Greetings, Cui Tian Emperor Gu. The people present hurriedly bowed after being surprised. Chapter 1253. The place you will be going to in this test is called the Nether Ghost Domain. Countless demonic creatures live there. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu swept his gaze over the crowd. It was almost impossible to discern his emotions from his voice. Nether Ghost Domain? Hearing this name, most of the cultivators did not react. However, the expressions of some of the geniuses from the higher continents changed. Could it be the Nether Ghost Domain, one of the 6 ferocious forbidden grounds? A young man standing beside young Master Mu exclaimed in shock. When the Nether Ghost Domain was mentioned, not many people reacted. However, when the 6 ferocious forbidden grounds was mentioned, everyone's expression changed greatly. It was said that there were a total of 6 ferocious continents in the extraterritorial starry sky called the 6 ferocious forbidden grounds. The Nether Ghost Domain was one of them. The 6 ferocious forbidden grounds were said to be the place where Emperor Gu had fallen. Even many Emperor Gu could die on the spot if they entered. That's right, it is the Nether Ghost Domain. However, you will only be going to the edge of the Nether Ghost Domain. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu slowly said. Whoever wants to withdraw can do so now. Our Holy Dragon's secret domain will not force you. However, once you withdraw today, you will no longer have the chance to enter the Holy Dragon's secret domain in the future. Hearing Emerald Sky Emperor Gu's words, the cultivators who had been a little hesitant did not choose to leave. The opportunity to enter the Holy Dragon's secret domain was extremely rare. Furthermore, the cultivators and Yao gods present were all geniuses from various continents. Each of them was proud of themselves. It was impossible for them to withdraw without a fight. Very good, there are no cowards. The ancient Emperor of Emerald Heavens nodded in satisfaction and continued. Your goal is to kill demonic creatures and extract their demonic bones. The more demonic creatures you kill, the higher your evaluation will be. Only the top 2,000 are qualified to enter the Holy Dragon's secret domain. Top 2,000. The moment these words were spoken, many of the martial artists and Yao gods present looked at each other. Usually, such a test would eliminate at most half of the people. However, only 2,000 people could enter the Holy Dragon's secret domain this time. There were more than 10,000 cultivators and Yao gods present. In this way, 4/5 of the cultivators and Yao gods would be eliminated. The requirements for this sacred dragon mystery ground are actually so strict? Some of the cultivators who had some understanding of the Holy Dragon's secret realm exclaimed in shock. The rules of the Holy Dragon mystery ground had not changed for thousands of years. Yet, there was a sudden change this time. No one knew what it was hinting at. The geniuses who passed the Holy Dragon Mystery Dimensions examination this time will all receive a Jade Dragon Saint elixir. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu suddenly spoke. Jade Dragon Saint Dan? The Holy Dragon Mystery Realm is actually so generous? The expressions of many warriors changed involuntarily. Even young Master Mu looked surprised. Jade Dragon Saint Dan? What kind of spirit medicine is it? Some martial artists looked confused. This is the unique elixir of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground. It is said that Emperor Gu refined this elixir with his supreme technique and sacred medicine. Each Jade Dragon sacred elixir contains 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. Once refined, it is equivalent to condensing 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. A genius who came from a high-ranked continent explained. He was also more knowledgeable. Even if the disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground want to exchange for this kind of Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, they will need a large number of contribution points to do so. Most ordinary disciples can't even afford it. But this time, everyone who passed the examination can get one? 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. Hearing this, many of the cultivators and monster gods present revealed a fanatical look. Most of the cultivators and monster gods present had not condensed 10 pieces of the law of heaven and earth. If they could obtain this Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, once they refined and devoured it, it would almost mean that their strength would increase more than twofold. Moreover, the more heaven and earth principles one could condense before reaching the Emperor Realm, the more benefits one would get when they reach the Emperor Realm in the future. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A pill that contains the law of heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian's heart moved. Although he had 300 pieces of the law of heaven and earth in his body, no one would complain about having too many. It was not a Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, but a pill. The law of heaven and earth in his body did not belong to others. If Chu Fengmian devoured it, even if it could not increase the number of the law of heaven and earth, it would be enough to strengthen the 300 pieces of law of heaven and earth. Moreover, this was the first time Chu Fengmian had heard of such a method of refining the law of heaven and earth into pills. The methods of the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground were much more mysterious than Chu Fengmian had imagined. Chu Fengmian himself was an alchemy grandmaster. If Chu Fengmian obtained a Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, he might be able to obtain the refining method of the Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir. A Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir was extremely expensive in the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground. If Chu Fengmian could refine a large number of Jade Dragon Sacred Elixirs, it would definitely be a huge fortune. Originally, when they heard that only 2,000 people could pass the Holy Dragon Mystery Grounds examination this time, many cultivators and monster gods had wanted to withdraw. But when they heard about the Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir, the cultivators and monster gods' faces became heated. This was a Jade Dragon Sacred Elixir. Once they obtained it, it would definitely not be inferior to ordinary encounters. If they could obtain it by passing the examination, it would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. No one is withdrawing, right? Emerald Sky Emperor Gu swept his gaze across the crowd. None of the cultivators and monster gods present chose to withdraw. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu slowly raised his hand and injected a surge of spiritual energy into the bronze door. Ancient runes appeared on the bronze door, and waves of ancient power surged out. The bronze door opened with a loud bang. Behind the bronze door was a bottomless darkness. Billowing demonic intent surged out from the bronze door. Behind the bronze door is the Nether Ghost region. The duration of the examination is 7 days. Each of you will carry a jade talisman when you enter. Crush the jade talisman and you will be able to leave. If you encounter danger, crush the jade talisman. After 7 days, everyone will be recalled. Your ranking will be determined according to the number of demonic bones you obtain. The higher your ranking, the more important your haul will be. You may even be noticed by the 4 sections. Perform well. After Emerald Sky Emperor Gu finished speaking, the bronze door opened completely. It was unknown how many demons were hidden behind the billowing demonic intent. It was a chilling sight, but the demonic intent did not frighten the crowd. Soon, several cultivators and monster gods stepped into the door. Then, more and more people poured into the door. Chu Fengmian also followed the crowd and stepped through the bronze door. Beside him, young Master Mu also took a step forward. Young Master Mu looked at Chu Fengmian with eyes full of killing intent. When you reach the Nether Ghost region, it will be your death. Then I'll wait. Chapter 1254. The Nether Ghost Realm was one of the 6 ferocious lands of extremities. It was said that the Nether Ghost Realm was the most ancient demon realm in the extraterritorial starry sky. Countless demons were born there. Demon kings and demon emperors were innumerable. This time, the Copper Gate only teleported him to the edge of the Nether Ghost Realm. But once he stepped in, Chu Fengmian could feel the billowing demonic intent. In such a demon will land, it was likely enough to give birth to a demon emperor at the Emperor Realm. Demonic will was equivalent to spirit chi to demonic creatures. The denser the spirit chi, the stronger the demonic god warriors there. The Nether Ghost Realm was the same. With such a rich demonic intent, it was a paradise for demons. Compared to the Nether Ghost Realm, the so-called demon realms of the 9 domains are not worth mentioning. Chu Fengmian looked around and said with a smile. In the 9 domains there were a few places called demon realms, but compared to the Nether Ghost Realm, they were not even worthy of carrying shoes. This was only the edge of the Nether Ghost Realm. It was said that the Nether Ghost Realm was as big as 100 continents. It was almost impossible to see the edge. There were even demon emperors at the level of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu and ancient demon gods that had surpassed the level of the 9 tribulations Emperor Gu and stepped into the celestial realm. As soon as Chu Fengmian stepped into the Nether Ghost Realm, his aura fluttered with the wind. 4 demons, the blood essence of demon gods was their food. It could increase their strength and had a fatal attraction. A gust of chilly wind swept over. In this gust of chilly wind, a huge ape suddenly appeared. This giant ape held a big club and smashed it directly at Chu Fengmian. This was a giant ghost ape, a terrifying quasi-emperor level demon. In the Nether Ghost Realm, he could blend into the chilly wind. Even many quasi-emperors could not detect his presence. Once attacked, many quasi-emperors would not be in danger. Human, it's been a long time since a human came. Your flesh and blood is mine. The moment the big club smashed at Chu Fengmian, the giant ghost ape revealed a somewhat ferocious expression and laughed loudly. The quasi-emperor level demonic creature already possessed spiritual intelligence. It was no different from a martial artist or a demon god. It looked at Chu Fengmian as if he was its prey. Its eyes were full of greed and it was already imagining the scene of devouring Chu Fengmian's blood essence. However, the moment the club was less than 3 feet away from Chu Fengmian's body, it was suddenly grasped by a tremendous force. The claw of a battle dragon appeared above Chu Fengmian and grabbed the stick firmly. Then, he exerted strength and directly crushed the big stick. What? The giant ghoul ape didn't expect Chu Fengmian's strength to have reached such a level. His figure flickered and began to disappear. He intended to disappear into the land of Een Wind and leave. However, the battle dragon's claw had already locked onto the giant ghoul ape. Before the giant ghoul ape's body could completely disappear, it was grabbed by the battle dragon's claw. Then, the giant ghoul ape was crushed in Chu Fengmian's palm. Then, Chu Fengmian moved his right hand and pulled out a rib bone from the giant ghoul ape. This rib bone seemed to be the condensation of the giant ghoul ape's demonic intent. It was its origin demon bone. The source of a martial artist's strength came from the spiritual vein. A demon god's strength came from the beast core. As for the demon race, it came from the demon bone. Chu Fengmian pulled out the demon bone. In an instant, the demon bone in Chu Fengmian's palm exploded with spiritual energy, trying to escape. However, Chu Fengmian moved his hand and a seal was cast, firmly suppressing the power of the demon bone. The quasi-emperor level giant ghoul ape was directly suppressed by Chu Fengmian. Its demon bone also fell into Chu Fengmian's palm. Chu Fengmian carefully observed the demon bone. The demon bone contained extremely complex demonic runes. These demonic runes belonged to the demon race. Human martial artists could not understand them at all. They could only feel the terrifying demonic intent contained in the demon bone. Such a demon bone of a quasi-emperor demon could be refined into a heavenly spirit weapon, at the very least, if it was slightly refined. Of course, it would be an ordinary heaven-grade spiritual artifact. It could not be compared to the ancestral dragon's supreme sword. Moreover, not only could it be used to refine weapons, but some alchemy masters could also convert the demonic intent in the demon bone into pure spiritual energy. It was enough for martial artists and demon gods to devour. Such a demon bone was equivalent to a saint pill. However, no matter what kind of demon bone it was not very useful to Chu Fengmian. His goal was to accumulate a large number of demon bones, pass the test, and even become the champion. In order to join the Holy Dragon sect, Chu Fengmian had to become the champion this time. He also needed to hunt a large number of demonic creatures. Let's go. Chu Fengmian's figure moved and disappeared again. He continued to hunt demonic creatures in the realm of nether ghosts. However, Chu Fengmian's eyes could not help but frown. He felt that there seemed to be a gaze watching him in the sky of the realm of nether ghosts. It should be said that it was not only watching Chu Fengmian, but also watching everyone in the realm of nether ghosts. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu. Chu Fengmian recognized the owner of this gaze. Emerald Sky Emperor Gu had also come to the realm of nether ghosts. He seemed to be observing every movement of every martial artist and demon god. Once Chu Fengmian used his full strength, he would also be noticed by Emerald Sky Emperor Gu. How troublesome! Chu Fengmian cursed inwardly. In the realm of nether ghosts, Chu Fengmian could not display his full strength. Otherwise, with Chu Fengmian's current strength, he was almost invincible in the border of the realm of nether ghosts. However, now he could only slowly hunt demonic creatures. Fortunately, the strength that Chu Fengmian displayed was already at the peak of this year's newcomers. His hunting speed was definitely the fastest. Except for young Master Mu, no one else could compete with Chu Fengmian for the top spot. Half a day later, under Chu Fengmian's hands, he had already killed more than 30 quasi-emperor demonic creatures. Quasi-emperor demonic creatures were rarely seen in the 9 domains of the ancient monster continent, but they were everywhere in the realm of nether ghosts. It was not difficult to search for them. Boom! In a mountain range in the realm of nether ghosts, the battle dragon's claw mercilessly fell and directly crushed a mountain peak. At the same time, along with the mountain peak, a roaring demonic creature was directly killed by Chu Fengmian's battle dragon's claw. This was a one tribulation true Emperor Devil King, but it was also mercilessly killed by the battle dragon's claw. Chapter 1255. This surge of spiritual energy startled many of the demonic creatures in the surroundings, causing them to fly into the sky one after another. However, a beam of light descended from the sky in an instant and killed all the demonic creatures. Even a few Emperor Realm Demon Kings were mercilessly killed without the slightest ability to resist. Another Emperor Gu? Chu Fengmian raised his head and sensed that the owner of this beam of light was probably not inferior to Green Heaven's Emperor Gu. Another Emperor Gu had appeared. After this beam of light, a space tunnel suddenly condensed. Countless cultivators and monster gods poured out of this space tunnel. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of them. Most of these cultivators and monster gods were at the Boundary Emperor realm, which was very similar to the newcomers of the Holy Dragon secret domain. Chu Fengmian even noticed a few geniuses who were not inferior to young Master Mu. Are these the geniuses of another force? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. He noticed that each of these geniuses had a jade talisman hanging on their chests. On this jade talisman, there was a dazzling Qi character. Qi, could they be disciples of Qi Lin Mountain? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. This Qi character was the unique symbol of Qi Lin Mountain. Qi Lin Mountain was also a famous force in the extraterritorial starry sky. It was not inferior to the Holy Dragon secret domain. Chu Fengmian was no longer the little guy who knew nothing about the extraterritorial starry sky. From Hua and the others, Chu Fengmian had a rough understanding of many forces in the extraterritorial starry sky. Qi Lin Mountain was one of them. It was located in a third-grade continent, the Qi Lin continent. It was the overlord of the Qi Lin continent. He did not expect that this time, people from Qi Lin Mountain had also come to the Nether Ghost realm. It seems that not only the Holy Dragon secret domain, Qi Lin Mountain also intends to come to the Nether Ghost realm to train. Chu Fengmian muttered to himself. This was the edge of the Nether Ghost realm. There were countless ghosts here, but there were very few truly powerful ghost kings. Even Emperor Ghost Kings were low-level Ghost Kings below the Three Tribulation Emperor realm. For the disciples of the Holy Dragon secret domain, even if they were no match, they could escape if they used all their skills. Therefore, the Holy Dragon Mystery Ground had chosen the Nether Ghost domain as the place to test the disciples. From the looks of it, it was not only the people from the Holy Dragon Mystic Realm. Even the people from the Qilin Mountain had come. Disciples of Qilin Mountain, listen up. Whoever kills the most demonic creatures will be qualified to be promoted to an official disciple. The voice of Emperor Gu of the Qilin Mountain came from the sky. Yes. Countless Qilin Mountain disciples replied in unison, their auras soaring. Like an army, they began slaughtering the demonic creatures in the realm of Nether Ghost. For a time, battles broke out everywhere. I have to speed up too. Seeing this, Chu Fengmian's figure flickered and flew directly into the depths of the Nether Ghost realm. Currently, the demonic creatures at the edge of the realm of Nether Ghosts were competing and accumulating. The realm of Nether Ghosts was boundless, and the deeper one went, the more demonic creatures there would be. Of course, the closer one was to the depths of the Nether Ghost realm, the stronger the monsters were. Chu Fengmian flew all the way for 1,000 miles. Currently, most of the demonic creatures he had encountered were at the Boundary Emperor realm. He had even encountered quite a few demon kings in the Emperor realm. As he went deeper into the realm of Nether Ghosts, the number of martial artists and demon gods he encountered became fewer and fewer. However, during this period of time, the situation became a lot more chaotic. Not only Qilin Mountain, but the disciples of the Avalon of Five Elements and vast ocean capital also came to the realm of Nether Ghost. These two forces were not inferior to Qilin Mountain and the Sacred Dragon secret domain. They were both overlords of third-grade continent. A total of 40 to 50,000 martial artists and demon gods poured into the realm of Nether Ghosts and set off waves of slaughter. A large number of demonic creatures were besieged and killed. On the other side, several thousand martial artists and demon gods were killed in one day. 105. Chu Fengmian flew in the sky and suddenly slammed down with his claw. A demon king of the first tribulation true emperor level was directly killed by Chu Fengmian. After shattering the demon king in the sky, Chu Fengmian's claw directly collected the demon king's bones and stored them in his empty ring. In one day, Chu Fengmian had killed a total of 105 demonic creatures. Without exception, their bones were all stored in his empty ring. At this moment, Chu Fengmian looked around and saw that there were no longer any demonic creatures around. The majority of the demonic creatures had been killed by Chu Fengmian. As for the lucky ones, they had already run far away. The demonic creatures were not without intelligence. When they saw Chu Fengmian's wanton slaughter, many of them fled. Looks like I'll have to change locations. Chu Fengmian glanced around and suddenly moved, turning into a ray of light, and was about to leave. Suddenly, not far away, a ball of white flames suddenly turned into a sea of fire. The target of this sea of fire was Chu Fengmian. In the heart of the sea of fire, Chu Fengmian could still see a tall figure that was more than 10 meters tall. It was holding a bone sword and continuously swinging it. This figure had 2 sharp horns on its head and was very similar to the Azura that Chu Fengmian had seen before. Azura! It's actually a pure-blooded Azura? A hint of surprise flashed in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Azuras were different from the demonic creatures that Chu Fengmian had killed before. Most of those demonic creatures were born from the demon domain. Although they had stepped into the quasi-emperor realm, they were equivalent to ordinary quasi-emperor realm martial artists. Azuras, on the other hand, were the elites of the devil race. It was said that in the ancient era, the Azura legion of the devil race had destroyed one continent after another. Even a 9-tribulation true emperor couldn't stop the Azura legion. Each Azura was equivalent to a genius in the Holy Dragon secret realm. Although this Azura was only a quasi-emperor, its true strength wasn't inferior to a 2-tribulation true emperor. A pure-blooded Azura. According to the rules of the Holy Dragon secret realm, the higher the bloodline of the demonic creature killed, the higher the points. I was just thinking of hunting some demonic creatures with noble bloodlines. Looks like they've delivered themselves to my doorstep. Chu Fengmian's mind moved. He wasn't afraid in the face of this sea of fire. His body moved and turned into a ray of light that directly rushed over. The claw of the battle dragon descended from the sky and split the sea of flames into 2, opening a path for Qin Nan. Brat, are you the one who wantonly slaughtered my devil race? The Azura looked at Chu Fengmian and savagely asked. I can feel the bloodline of the dragon race in your body. That's right, I haven't drunk dragon blood for a long time. Today, I'll use you to quench my thirst. Chapter 1256. Azura's bone sword was the most precious treasure of their clan. It was said that some Azura emperors' bone swords were even more powerful than heaven-grade spiritual weapons. As soon as the Azura attacked, a sea of fire immediately swept toward Chu Fengmian. The flames were not ordinary flames, but demonic flames. Only the elites of the demon race could use such flames. Once touched by the demonic flames would continue to spread and devour all life. It was the most domineering flame in the world. Even heaven-grade spiritual weapons could not resist it. However, Chu Fengmian did not care. He formed the battle dragon claw and slashed it down. The demonic flames burned the war dragon claw, but they were unable to harm it in the slightest. Chu Fengmian had the divine body of ice and fire. The battle dragon claw had been refined by the pure yang heavenly fire. The demonic flames were far inferior to the pure yang heavenly fire. You're not afraid of the demonic flames? Azura's expression changed when he saw that the battle dragon claw was unscathed despite being burned by his demonic flames. After all, Azura was a combat elite of the demon race. Seeing that the demon flame had failed, he immediately pulled out his bone sword and slashed at Chu Fengmian. The sword contained the power of heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian could feel that Azura had activated the power of 20 laws of heaven and earth to attack Chu Fengmian. Sky-ripping claw. Chu Fengmian's expression did not change when he saw Azura slashing at him. He focused his gaze and the power of primogenitor Tianlong's bloodline boiled in his body. The battle dragon claw above Chu Fengmian's head was formed by countless arrays. In an instant it turned into a sky-ripping claw and slashed at Azura. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The domineering and invincible power burst out. The sky was about to be torn apart by the claw. The Azura's chest was instantly torn apart by the sky-ripping claw. A massive force bombarded his body like a torrential storm. Even an elite of the demon race like Azura could not withstand such a terrifying attack. His body began to shatter layer by layer. Finally, it shattered into pieces. Retrieve. With a tap of his finger, Chu Fengmian extracted the Azura's devil bone and held it in his hand. Although this Azura was only at the quasi-emperor realm, the power contained in this demon bone was much stronger than many of the demon kings that Chu Fengmian had killed. This was the advantage of bloodline. The Azura bloodline was considered the elite of the demon race, but it was still not considered a royal bloodline. It was even rumored that the royal bloodline of the demon race was no less powerful than the bloodline of the innate godly bodies and innate divine beasts. Of course, such geniuses of the demon race all existed in the holy land of the demon race. They were far beyond Chu Fengmian's reach. This bone sword can be sold for a good price. When Chu Fengmian saw the bone sword, he waved his hand and put it away. The bone sword of the Azura clan was something that many sword cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. However, after killing this Azura, Chu Fengmian felt a little strange. This place was still at the edge of the realm of Nether Ghost. It could even be said to be the most remote and desolate place in the realm of Nether Ghost. How could there be a pure-blooded Azura in such a place? According to Chu Fengmian's understanding, apart from the most famous Azura army, many of the Azura clan's members served as guards. For an Azura to appear out of thin air was definitely unusual. Are the martial artists up ahead fighting with the demons? While Chu Fengmian was thinking, waves of spiritual energy erupted not far ahead. Spiritual energy and demonic will were constantly colliding. Even from 1,000 miles away, one could clearly feel the collision of power. This was definitely not a battle between ordinary demons and martial artists. Let's go and see what's going on. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed and turned into a streak of light, flying directly over. For Chu Fengmian, 1,000 miles was nothing more than a snap of his fingers. Chu Fengmian's figure flashed repeatedly and arrived near the collision of power. When he saw everything clearly, Chu Fengmian's expression suddenly changed. So many martial artists and demon immortals. At a glance, Chu Fengmian saw hundreds of martial artists and demon immortals. These martial artists and demon immortals seemed to be from different forces, but now they had formed a team and were constantly hunting down the demon race. Countless demons were constantly being killed by the joint forces of these martial artists and demon immortals. Someone actually managed to unite so many geniuses? A trace of surprise flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. Regardless of whether it was the Sacred Dragon Mystery Dimension or Qi Linshan, the disciples of the Avalon of 5 Elements were all famous geniuses from various continents. Almost all of them were proud and arrogant people. Only people like young Master Mu, who had a powerful background, could command the loyalty of other geniuses. However, this was still only a small part of them. These martial artists and demon immortals belonged to different forces, but now they were united. How could Chu Fengmian not be surprised? However, after taking a closer look, Chu Fengmian's expression changed involuntarily. This was because he suddenly saw that the faces of these martial artists and demon immortals were engraved with ancient veins. These ancient veins were none other than a restriction that could control life and death. In other words, these martial artists and demon immortals had all been forcibly enslaved by someone. What a ruthless method! A trace of ferocity flashed across Chu Fengmian's eyes. Chu Fengmian also had the heavenly death seal. However, Chu Fengmian rarely used such a method to deal with other martial artists and demon immortals. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Chu Fengmian was unwilling to use it. After all, such a method was too ruthless. Forcibly enslaving a restriction was much more painful than killing the martial artist. Chu Fengmian also knew that in the Nether Ghost Domain's assessment, there would be competition between the disciples of various forces. However, using such a method to directly subdue martial artists and demon immortals as slaves was more ruthless than Chu Fengmian had imagined. Chu Fengmian saw that this group of martial artists and demon immortals were not only hunting demons. When they encountered martial artists and demon immortals, they directly chased after them, as if they wanted to take away and enslave all the martial artists and demon immortals. They were simply a group of heartless people. Crystal heaven and earth. All of a sudden, a gigantic crystal giant appeared not too far away. On the head of this crystal giant stood a woman. When this crystal giant appeared, it immediately sent a palm strike at the group of martial artists and demon immortals that were chasing after them, saving several martial artists who were being chased. Chapter 1257. It's her. Chu Fengmian's gaze swept over. When he saw the woman who had attacked, he was somewhat surprised. This woman was none other than Luya, who had come to the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain with Chu Fengmian. Previously, when she had been taken away by Emperor Gu, Chu Fengmian had thought that Luya had already entered the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. After all, with Emperor Gu's identity, he would have been able to bring her to the Four Sects. Unexpectedly, she had also come to the Nether Ghost Domain. Young Master Xue? No matter who you are, you cannot pursue the disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. Luya snorted coldly and did not retreat. The crystal giant gathered a terrifying spiritual energy and attacked. Luya's strength was much stronger than the last time he saw her. She possessed a total of 20 laws of the heavens and earth. It seemed that she had obtained great benefits after entering the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. It's just killing a few newcomers. What's the big deal? These newcomers cannot be considered disciples of the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. Furthermore, with young Master Xue's identity, he can kill them. Who are you to tell him what to do? An eagle-faced man said with a cold sneer behind the hundreds of beast gods. He was the commander of these Yao gods. His eyes flickered as he sized up Luya. A trace of lust flashed in his eyes. Not bad. I did not expect that there would be a beauty like you among the newcomers of the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. A total of 20 worldly laws is enough to be called a genius. You are qualified to be young Master Xue's concubine. Since you've delivered yourself to my doorstep, I won't be polite then. Go, capture this woman. The eagle-faced man ordered. The hundreds of martial artists and Yao gods all attacked at the same time. Every quasi-emperor Yao god present was a genius of a continent. When several hundred people attacked together, the power they unleashed was enough to change the color of the sky. With Luya's current strength, ordinary quasi-emperor Yao gods were nothing in her eyes. However, now that hundreds of martial artists and fey immortals were attacking together, even she revealed a somewhat fearful expression. With a thought, the crystals in the sky turned into crystal spears that pierced toward the eagle-nosed man. However, before the crystal spears could reach the eagle-nosed man, the several hundred quasi-emperor Yao gods attacked together. A vast amount of spiritual energy burst out and shattered those crystal spears. This Luya is still too reckless. Seeing this, Chu Fengmian shook his head. However, he and Luya were, after all, acquaintances. He would not allow Luya to be captured by young noble Xue. Furthermore, young Master Xue's way of doing things had crossed Chu Fengmian's bottom line. When Chu Fengmian killed someone, he would never kill someone he had no enmity with. However, young noble Xue was completely different. He directly captured other fey immortals and enslaved them to serve him. Ha 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 ha, little beauty, there's no need for you to struggle. Follow young noble Xue and be his concubine. That's a blessing that you've accumulated over thousands of years. It's something that many people dream of. If you follow young noble Xue, it'll be much better for you to be a little disciple in the Holy Dragon Mystery Domain. The eagle-faced man laughed loudly when he saw that Luya was at a disadvantage. Xue Gongzi will definitely rule the world in the future. Holy Dragon's secret realm, Qilin Mountain, they will all be trampled under his feet. Really? What a boastful tone. The moment the hundreds of fey immortals forced Luya into a desperate situation, an escape light flew over in an instant. At the same time, an enormous claw of a war dragon appeared in the sky and violently attacked the hundreds of Fey immortals. Quite a number of people were forced to retreat. Who dares to interfere with our young noble Shui's matter? The eagle-faced man swept his gaze over and stared at Chu Fengmian sinisterly as he spoke coldly. This person has already become young noble Shui's concubine. I advise you not to interfere. Otherwise, if you provoke young noble Shui for a woman, you'll be courting disaster. The eagle-faced man looked at Chu Fengmian with some fear. This war dragon claw was enough to force back the hundreds of Fey immortals. Although these Fey immortals were controlled by young noble Shui's unique restriction and their cooperation was far from a normal banquet, their combined strength was enough to force even a three-tribulation true emperor to retreat. However, Chu Fengmian had withstood it. This made the eagle-faced man somewhat fearful. Is that so? What young noble Shui? I've never heard of him. I want this woman. Chu Fengmian casually smiled and spoke in a nonchalant manner. Now release everyone's restrictions and kill yourself. Then I can leave you with an intact corpse. Humph. A mere never-wither realm brat dares to be so arrogant in front of me? It seems that our Avalon of 5 elements hasn't appeared in a long time. Even a little cat or dog dares to provoke us. The eagle-faced man laughed coldly. His laughter concealed a strong murderous intent. Don't think that you're invincible just because you have some strength. Your strength is nothing in front of our Avalon of 5 elements. Blood sacrifice to heaven and earth, great immortal art of physical transformation. The eagle-faced man's expression was ferocious. At his command, the Fey immortals and Fey immortals showed signs of madness. They ignored everything and rushed towards Chu Fengmian and Lu Yu. What are they trying to do? Lu Yu's expression changed. She had also noticed the peculiarity. Chu Fengmian's expression changed when he glanced at them. Retreat. Chu Fengmian grabbed Lu Yu and retreated with explosive speed. You want to retreat? You don't have a chance. Both of you will die here today. The eagle-faced man laughed loudly. Some of the Fey Immortals and Fey Immortals had already closed in on Chu Fengmian. The moment they got close to Chu Fengmian, their bodies began to rapidly expand. Then, all of their flesh and blood burst out at this moment, turning into a terrifying explosion. A quasi-emperor self-destructed just like that. Boom! A terrifying blood mist swept towards the surroundings. Chu Fengmian could clearly see that this blood mist had been specially refined. It was not inferior to any potent poison. Once one was contaminated by it, one would die without a doubt. Tianlong change. Chu Fengmian grabbed Lu Yu and directly activated the power of Tianlong change. In an instant, they retreated dozens of miles and escaped the blood mist. At the same time, Chu Fengmian's expression was not ugly. What a ruthless method! Not only did the restriction turn these Fey immortals into slaves, but it also refined their flesh and blood. Once activated, it would cause them to self-destruct. Chapter 1258. Escape? Let's see if you can escape for a while, but can you escape for the rest of your life? The eagle-faced man smiled viciously. Following his orders, 7 or 8 cultivators flew toward Chu Fengmian. These cultivators were already under the control of the restrictions and couldn't resist at all. They could only follow the eagle-faced man's orders and fly toward Chu Fengmian. When they got close to Chu Fengmian, their flesh changed drastically and they exploded. The power of a quasi-emperor's self-destruction was something that even first or second tribulation true emperors would be wary of. Moreover, these quasi-emperors' self-destruction forced Chu Fengmian to retreat repeatedly. Damn it, I can't use my full strength now or else. Murderous intent flashed in Chu Fengmian's eyes. With his current strength, once he used his full strength, he would be able to sweep the place. However, Chu Fengmian also knew that his every move in the Nether Ghost Realm was being watched by several Emperor Gu. Small fights might not attract their attention, but once Chu Fengmian used his full strength, he would definitely attract the attention of those Emperor Gu. This made Chu Fengmian feel somewhat sullen, as if he had power but couldn't use it. Let's leave first. Chu Fengmian's mind spun and made a decision in an instant. Instead of wasting time here, it was better to take a step back first. He grabbed Lu Ye and used the power of the Tianlong transformation to cross 100 miles in an instant. The Tianlong transformation tore through space at an extremely fast speed. Even sovereigns couldn't stop Chu Fengmian. Before the quasi-emperors self-destructed, Chu Fengmian and Lu Ye's figures disappeared on the spot. Damn it, I actually let them escape. I felt an innate divine beast on that brat. He's actually a cultivator with an innate divine beast bloodline. As for that woman, if we gave her to the blood noble first, we could have gained a lot of benefit. I didn't expect that so many quasi-emperors would die and all our efforts would be in vain. The eagle-faced man cursed angrily as he watched Chu Fengmian and Lu Ye disappear. He originally thought that Chu Fengmian and Lu Ye were already his. As long as he gave them to the blood noble first, he would be able to gain great benefit. However, Shao Chen had lost many quasi-emperors while Chu Fengmian and Lu Ye managed to escape unscathed. This was simply a double loss. However, in the Nether Ghost realm, even if they escaped, they wouldn't be able to get far. This matter is of great importance, so I have to report it to young noble blood first. The eagle-faced man's eyes flickered. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly took out a jade talisman. After saying a few words, the jade talisman turned into a ray of blood light and flew away. 4 to 6 hours later, in a valley, the eagle-faced man flew over alone. There were at least 1,000 martial artists and demon immortals in the valley. They were all standing at the side, guarding the place respectfully. The bodies of these martial artists and fey immortals were also implanted with restrictions, turning them into slaves. In the deepest part of the valley, there was an extremely tall throne. A red-clothed young man was seated on the throne. Beside the red-clothed man stood 2 young girls who would occasionally pour wine for him and massage his shoulders. Lin Shui, what is it? Didn't I tell you to kill the devils outside? The red-clothed man glanced at the eagle-nosed man named Lin Shui and asked with a frown. Moreover, you lost many quasi-emperors. Reporting to young Master Shui. It's like this. When I was chasing after the demon race, I suddenly discovered a man and a woman. That woman is only a quasi-emperor, but she possesses a total of 20 heavenly laws. As for the man beside her, he is even more astonishing. From his body, I could sense the bloodline of an innate divine beast. Lin Shui knelt before young noble blood and respectfully reported. However, this subordinate is incompetent. I was unable to capture the 2 of them and offer them to young noble blood. Oh? What did the man and woman look like? Young noble blood's eyes flickered when he heard Lin Shui's words. This is what the man and woman look like. Lin Shui waved his hand, and a water mirror formed in front of young noble blood. The water mirror displayed the appearances of Chu Fengmian and Lu Ye, who had just fought with Lin Shui. Tianlong Bien? As expected, it's the bloodline of primogenitor Tianlong. Moreover, it seems like he's from the sacred dragon secret realm. I didn't expect there to be such a person besides Mu Bai in this batch of newcomers. Young noble blood opened his eyes and glanced at Chu Fengmian's bloodline clearly. The power of an innate divine beast was unique. At his level, he could easily identify Chu Fengmian's bloodline with a single glance. As for the woman, young noble blood sized up Chu Fengmian, and his gaze moved away from Chu Fengmian and landed on Lu Ye. It's her. Young noble blood's eyes flashed with surprise when he saw Lu Ye's appearance. You know this woman? Lin Shui asked when he saw young noble blood's reaction. That's right. I've heard of this woman. It's said that she has some relationship with Emperor Gu. Young noble blood revealed a hint of lust when he saw Lu Ye's gaze. That's right. This person is qualified to be my concubine. But what about the Fengho ancient emperor? When Lin Shui heard about Emperor Gu, his expression became a little unnatural. Emperor Gu was the Grand Elder of the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. Although he was young, he was already a famous big shot. Lin Shui couldn't help but feel fearful when he heard that Luya had some relationship with Emperor Gu. What's there to be afraid of? So what if she's Emperor Gu? My father is also an 8 Calamity Emperor Gu. Moreover, my father is stronger than him. I'm not going to kill her. I'm just going to take her as my concubine. The more young noble blood looked at Luya, the more excited he became. The unique secret technique I've cultivated can allow me to have sex with yin and yang. The higher the potential of my concubine, the better it will be for me. Moreover, with this woman, I might be able to have some relationship with Emperor Gu. Sooner or later, I'll make Emperor Gu my woman. It's said that there are 2 outstanding geniuses in the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. They're called Hanyueli and Luoshi. Anyway, after this woman becomes my woman, she'll become one of my chess pieces in the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. She'll be able to help me dominate the Sacred Dragon Secret Realm. There was no excitement in young Noble Blood's eyes. He was a lawless person. Even when facing Emperor Gu, he wasn't afraid at all. Go and bring the woman back. As for the man, kill him and take away his bloodline. Young Noble Blood ordered. The few of you follow Lin Shui and look for the search officers. The 2 of them must still be nearby. Yes. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.